My friend says caffeine's a drug. I said, oh, tell your friend, fuck you.
I don't want to be your buddy, but just want a little breakfast.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Punks, a podcast about weird shit, DIY, punk and trashy movies, brought to you by Sham City Roasters and Deadbeat Donuts. From Hastings, I'm Dave.
And I'm Siobhan. And this is episode 22, where we're talking about the UFO cult Unarius and the film Halloween 3, Season of the Witch from 1982.
We're going to kick off with some music. This is a song by a band called Nothing Clean. They're from Leicester. It's from their album Disappointment, which is out on Psycho Control Records on vinyl and Esagoya Records in Japan on CD. This song is called One of Many, and so here's Nothing Clean.
Everyone, and the highlights of the news this Thursday.
Breaking news is part of this job.
You are fake news. This is what's happening in your world tonight. It's fucking news.
Well, I'd like to take you a little bit back in time for my first news story. Do you remember the rock band Travis?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
The rock band is putting it really
do you remember the
kindly.
The gash pop band Travis?
They did that Why Does It Always Rain on Me song, didn't they?
They did.
They were really shit.
They did, yeah.
Well, they were around the same time as Stereophonics. I remember there was a time in music where like Stereophonics and Travis were like the things, and Simply Red was like creeping in the background.
No, Simply Red was earlier, but it was like those bands wanted to...
all do the same.
Yeah.
Bad times. The
ghost of Mick Hucknall
lives on in Fran Healy.
Touching them on the bottom while they were singing.
Yeah.
Well, so it's interesting that you've just named the man.
Well, he was that
Travis.
little dweeb. Yeah, well, he was the one with the little flat peak cap, and he looked like a dweeby little face.
Knew his first name and surname.
Yeah, I know, that's bad. Ooh.
Did you know that Fran Healy was recently mauled by a sausage dog that he tried to save from... that he tried to save from a car crash near his home in Los Angeles, and that when a neighbour called an ambulance, a fire engine with 5 Calvin Klein models turned up instead, and they told him to go to A&E.
Sorry, just going to track this back. So, Fran Healy sees a car crash, and then tries to save the dog from it.
Yeah.
But the dog, a sausage dog, notoriously small, mauls him to the point that he needs... medical attention.
This story just needs to be read out loud. It doesn't need anything more. Travis singer Fran Healy says there was so much blood after he was mauled by a runaway sausage dog that he tries to save from the middle of a car crash. The musician, he lives in Los Angeles now apparently, and he had to drive to hospital, and he took a picture of his hand that had been mauled, and I'll be honest,
nothing.
I mean, He's got 3 plasters on
it.
And there is, I mean, this does look like a bit of a gash under, and obviously you don't know what's under the plasters, but come on, Fran Healy from Travis. He said that he jumped out of his car after seeing 3 other vehicles that had jackknifed near his home, and the sausage dog was running in the middle of the chaos. So he did a nice thing. So he, a quote from him, "Cars bombed down our hill, and it would have been toast. So I tried to pick it up, and it mauled the shit out of my left hand," which is important because apparently, who would have known it? He's still banging away on that guitar, this Fran Healy. Yeah, there's still a thing. He held on, hoping to chuck the dog onto his porch, but then it slipped out and bolted off, said Healy. The 48-year-old said a neighbour called an ambulance, but a fire engine with 5 Calvin Klein models turned up and suggested he go to A&E. The Star added, it just gets weirder and weirder, this is my favourite bit of the story. The Star added, "The dog is fine. He was cornered at the bottom of our hill, and the owner, who lives in Stevie Nicks' old house, was reunited."
Why does he have to add that? just to be like, you just be aware of where I'm living, next to where Stevie Nicks used to live.
Well, up the road.
Up the road.
Or down the hill.
Oh, well, that sausage dog from Stevie Nicks' old ass, yeah.
But that's
mauled
the
me.
thing. All of his quotes do just sound like a bloke from down the road, but he's talking about obviously like some star-studded Los Angeles.
Also, no one could accuse Fran Healy of being a bloke. He's like a prawn, if anything.
Well,
like a
I
tiny
must
little
say, there's a
shrivelly-
picture of him now from the V Festival. I can't believe the fucking V Festival's still going.
Is it?
This is in 2016. He looks like...
Is he like a builder?
Well, I mean, he's aged not great, but he's got, I don't know, he looks like an old folk singer and he's wearing a Black Sabbath t-shirt.
Oh, like when your dad's trying to be cool or something. Well, not
Kind
your
of, but he
dad,
can't be that
sorry.
old. What is he, 48?
Yeah.
He's not old.
No, I know,
So-
but he's dressing like he's an old dad.
Yeah,
Maybe
he
he
is
is
a
a dad,
bit.
who knows?
Well, I don't know.
Who cares?
But, I mean, in fairness to him, take your hat off. The best thing he ever did, because he's never done anything else good, he did try and save a sausage dog.
He did try and save a sausage.
And,
Aww.
I mean, in a lot of ways, this is wonderful. The sausage dog mauled his hand so he can't play the guitar. So these are all positive outcomes.
Something good's happened.
Someone who lives in Stevie Nicks' old house has got a dog back.
Oh, he didn't get crushed in it. I mean, 3 cars seem to have jackknifed, but they're always bombing down
And
that
that's
hill.
I mean, jackknife to me is like... Is
What
that not-
lorries do.
Well,
Big
yeah, isn't
lorries.
it like proper, like turning over on your head? And so I feel like...
It's definitely not something that little cars do and sausage dogs run in
It
between.
is LA, they probably haven't got little cars there.
Oh, true.
They're not all driving
Monster trucks.
They're not driving KAs and Ford Fiestas.
Not quite, not in LA. Cool. Well, my first story is court rules Pablo Escobar's cocaine hippos are legally people. This is the nicest headline I've read in a while.
What? Hang on. What?
Yeah, I know.
What's
It's
a
taken-
cocaine hippo? Is that a breed of hippo?
I don't know why they've called them cocaine hippos, but more than 80 hippos in Colombia are the first non-human creatures to be legally considered people by a US court. The reason is that Pablo Escobar brought some hippos to Colombia from, I guess from the US. I don't know where he got them from.
Hippos aren't just wandering free in the US.
I know. Well, I don't know. I don't know where he got them
Probably
from.
from a jungle or something, surely.
Don't know, they're called the cocaine hippos, I think, purely because he
used
bought them with
money
cocaine money,
Yeah,
I guess.
that makes sense.
So basically...
How much is a hippo?
Fuck knows.
Anyway, go ahead.
I don't think you can generally buy them, but Pablo Escobar could, locate a
You
hippo.
could probably get a lot of different things.
Well,
I
I'm
imagine.
sure it's not the only animal he had. But anyway, so the hippos, 80 hippos.
Sorry, were you suggesting he was fucking animals then?
No, I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
as in he had owned other animals, not that he had them. David. The 80 hippos are descendants of 4 hippos illegally imported by Escobar. They were set free after his death in 93, but then since then, the hippos have increased their numbers to more than 80, and they are reportedly wreaking havoc on the local ecosystem. Thus...
So they're wild. They're 80...
So they're wild and they're fucking the place up because they're not really meant to be wherever they are. So basically, Colombian government wanted to kill them. And an attorney has gone to the Supreme Court to say, please don't kill them, that's really harsh. And the US government, to give them rights, has legally recognised them as people.
But what's the
so
US
they can't be killed
government
them.
got
I'm
to
not
do
really
with...
sure
Surely
how...
it's the law of Colombia.
So it's gone to a US court because there's a US law that allows interested persons in Colombia to go to a US federal court to seek the ability to obtain documents and testimony. So there's the ADLF, which must be some kind of animal support people, have applied for hippos' rights in the US to give them rights as humans so they can be not killed. They're saying they still have to be sterilised because they shouldn't be where
I'm
they
still
are.
a bit confused by why the US would have anything to do with it. Surely,
I think because in
just-
Colombia they have no rights, but there's a
someone's
loophole
gone
where
to
someone in
American
Colombia
court.
can go to US
Gotcha.
to get rights. I don't know. No, it's not happened before. I don't think. So yeah. So
What, 80
these-
hippos haven't just been left to run in the wild in a presumably relatively metropolitan place in Colombia?
Well, I don't know where they are, but they're wreaking havoc on the ecosystem. So yeah, they get to. Well, they have to be sterilised in order to be kept alive, but they're not allowed to be killed now because they've gotten human rights and they have a right to life.
That's nice.
That's really nice.
Do they maintain those human rights throughout life?
Well, they're getting sterilised against their will, so it hasn't
no,
gone well.
it doesn't
But
sound
their
like
right to
it.
life
I like the
exists.
idea of them suing someone.
Well, they have an attorney, Luis Domingo Moldano.
I mean, couldn't they? I mean, they're being called cocaine hippos. Couldn't they sue for slander? Seems a bit hard.
I'm imagining these hippos have like little sunglasses on and nice rings and sitting there like tapping the table whilst Lewis cracks on with their case in court. I like it.
Sniffing.
Yeah.
Going in the toilet a couple too many times.
Cocaine hippos. But yeah, so the cocaine hippos have rights. That's nice. They're legally people.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, on another legal note, did you hear about the nurse who lost a lawsuit because she claimed that the hospital that she worked in hypnotised her to make her fart at work?
Oh, gosh. Is that me? No, I'm joking.
I mean, I don't think you need to be hypnotised.
Sorry, she's saying someone at her work hypnotised her and now she farts.
Well, strap in, because I will say it is a bit of a sad story in a way, because this woman's obviously extremely mentally ill, but we are probably now going to laugh at her. So just there's a trigger warning for you. A nurse lost the lawsuit that she filed against an NHS hospital in Ealing in London. Zander Sampson sued, claiming the medical institution wrongfully dismissed her. She complained to the employment tribunal that the hospital had subjected her to something called idiomotor phenomenon, and it's supposed to There's a supposed hypnotic concept that forces the subject to perform small involuntary movements. Sounds a bit pointless to me.
It does sound rubbish.
According to Sampson, she claims the hospital used low-frequency sound waves to possess her. Supposedly, evil people in charge of the institution attacked her private parts and forced her to fart publicly. Ealing Hospital, on the other hand, said that she suffers from mental health.
Oh, of course she does. Bless her heart.
So this woman basically is obviously suffering from mental health problems. She worked on an acute medical unit. It's not a psychiatric unit, but her hospital was getting very concerned because she wasn't really fit to work. She sent an email that said, "I would like to report an observed pattern of likely inappropriate use of hypnosis, idiomotor phenomenon in my NHS workplace. In the last 3 months that I have worked in the department, I have experienced odd symptoms, which I think is likely related to the above phenomenon." She claimed to be a healthy individual.
I love that, you randomly start farting and you think, it's probably not that I don't know, maybe eat a bit more broccoli than I used to, or I don't know, it could be anything, but it must be that my hospital are performing idiomotor.
Well, yeah, I looked up
hypnosis.
idiomotor hypnosis. It is actually a genuine thing. It seems very pointless. It's basically a hypnosis which makes you do really pointless acts. Very minor pointless acts, from what I can make out.
Oh.
It's got something to do with spiritualism from the 1840s, and it's suggested on some of the descriptions suggest that things like Ouija boards
Yeah, I was thinking
are
that.
kind of a version of it, in as
Like-
much as you almost hypnotise yourself if you believe in it. And then
Yeah,
the
and
Ouija
then
board
that's
makes
a
that
tiny
thing.
movement, I
Automatic
guess.
writing is the same sort of thing.
Okay.
So
Wow.
I don't really see the point. Can't imagine why anyone would want a nurse to fart more.
Not more.
Oh, she'd seen a van in the parking lot near the area, so she believes that this van carries some sort of audio equipment.
Oh.
So I mean, it's very much all just a paranoid delusion.
Yeah, poor love.
So she was offered help by the sounds of things from a hospital, and she refused it all. So after it got to a point where she wasn't really fit to do her job, she was sacked.
Oh, that's a shame.
Interestingly, having said that they were doing all of this stuff and argued that they were doing this stuff, and there was people parked outside in vans and what have you, when she did get sacked, she took them to the employment tribunal and said that they'd only sacked her because she was mentally ill.
Oh,
So
okay.
I presume that her solicitor probably had something
Yeah.
to do with that.
I
argument.
imagine that she's like not of that belief. Bless. Oh, but still, it's quite harsh to sack her. I mean, unless I don't know, was she trying to do this hypnosis on other people? I don't know how believing that someone else is making you fart makes you a bad nurse.
No, but I suppose if you've got
It's
paranoid beliefs and you're dealing with very vulnerable people, then you're probably not going
And
to be
refusing
fit
help.
to work. Yeah, exactly. And I would guess, as probably a lot of people listening may know, me and Siobhan are both nurses.
Yeah.
And so my experience of this sort of stuff is that people don't just get sacked out of the blue because they say that someone's making them
Oh,
fart.
God, you have to...
It takes a very long process.
Yeah, it's a long old time. You get moved about.
Yeah.
You have to really do something to get sacked.
Imagine being on the ward that she was moved to.
Why did you get moved
and
here?
you know where they move these people to. It's the easy wards. It's the ones that's probably some elderly, a care home or something.
Yeah.
And then this woman turns up and says, "You know what they were doing at my hospital?
Yeah.
They were making me fart."
Oh, bless. Oh.
So I do hope that this woman gets the help that she wants, but I do still think it's fucking funny that she thinks that our hospital trust are parking vans outside her hospital, playing low frequency sounds, and that these things are making her do more farts.
Good on her. Good excuse. Well, somewhat
Oh,
fart
a fart story.
related. Plane drops sewage on Windsor man in his garden. A man and his garden were splattered in a very unpleasant way when human waste was dropped from a plane, a council meeting has heard. There you go. Man was covered in
I thought that
human
was a
shit.
myth.
Well, I think it's not usual,
Okay.
but can occasionally happen. So this man has complained
What? Because
to
someone's
his...
done a massive shit on the plane, and they've
We've
got
got to get rid of this.
It's just
There's
too much. There's too much feces on this plane. We're going to have to drop the. We're going to have to,
And at Windsor, which means you're so close to the...
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're very close to the where you're landing.
worse still, they might have just taken off, and just one person went and did an elephant shit.
They're like,
They're not even supposed
"Get
to be in
gone."
the toilet. Jesus Christ, we're not going to make it all the way to New York with this thing weighing us down.
Oh gosh. Right, so this is all from Karen Davies, who's the counsellor.
Karen, she's a Karen.
No. Well, she is a Karen, but she...
Oh, it was outrageous.
She's
there was shit falling
No.
from the sky.
But
It
it's
was
not
massive.
her.
It was like
It's
an
not
elephant
her.
shit. It was like one of them cocaine rhinos.
So Karen is the counsellor. So this man
Okay.
complained to his local counsellor, like,
Okay.
"Hello, I was in my garden and a massive shit happened on me. Can you please bring it up in the council meeting?" So she does. And she says she was horrified to hear of this. She explained how his whole garden and garden umbrellas and him were all covered.
Oh, the cunt had a garden umbrella. He can have shit on him. I don't care.
Plane toilets store sewage in special tanks, but usually their contents are disposed of once the plane has landed.
Yeah.
So it's very unusual that this happens. I know a number of incidents happen every year with frozen sewage from planes, but this wasn't frozen, and his whole garden was splattered in a very unpleasant way.
That'd be so much worse if it was frozen, wouldn't it? A big block.
You'd pretty much... You would
Ice
die.
shit.
You would die if a frozen poo
That would
fell on
ruin
you.
his garden umbrellas.
But he got absolutely covered in it. He was in the garden at the time, so it was a very horrible experience. It's a 1 in a billion chance, according to this other counsellor, John Bowden. He suggested that the warm weather meant the excrement could have come out as a more fluidy item.
Oh, so
'Cause I
it
think
came
it would
out as
normally
ice
be
and
frozen.
and the sun thawed it on its way down.
Oh, gosh. Miss Davies, the counsellor, says that the resident has decided not to pursue an insurance claim. He said he's not going to do that for the sake of a couple of garden umbrellas in terms of bumping up his premium, so he just has to sort of take it on the chin.
Oh, God. These people
Which
are
it
obviously
sounds
all
like-
terrible. Did you say it was in Windsor?
Yeah, well, he
Oh,
obviously took it all over his face.
Good.
Poor bugger.
Good. Everyone in Windsor should have shit on their face coming from the sky.
I love it.
Oh, that's so rubbish. I can just picture these people, exactly how that conversation, how outraged he would be.
Yeah.
And he's probably wearing a brown cardigan.
Well, can you hear the subtle racism in her last comment?
Oh.
The name of the airline has not been shared with the BBC, though Miss Davies said it was based a very long way away from here.
Oh, disgusting.
Wouldn't happen with the BA.
These foreign planes coming over here dropping shit on us.
It's just so horrendous.
Oh, these people can go and fuck them. I hope that from this day forth, that plane company drops a shit on that man's garden
Every
time
time.
they fly over,
Every time.
like a Scud missile.
The Scud missile.
Well, on a slightly different note, I'd like to take us back again into one of our previous episodes.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, sort of. A number of episodes ago, we covered the Satanic Panic from
Yes.
the 80s.
Yes, we did.
If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it.
Very
I think
good,
it's
very
quite an
good.
interesting subject.
It is.
Well, it seems to be rearing its ugly head again in
Ooh.
Canada.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I am so ready. I'm ready for Satanic Panic.
A group of overtly concerned parents have launched a petition to get the principal of Eden High School in St Catharines, Ontario, fired. And the reasons for the demands are that Sharon Burns has professed her love for heavy metal and, worse still, on her Instagram page, shared a picture of herself wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt, doing devil horns and her number plate is Iron Maiden.
Oh,
Not really.
dear. Oh, dear. And so that principal needs to fucking go, I guess. What?
Yeah. So, what's Canada like? I thought Canadians loved heavy metal.
Well, I guess...
I thought it was massive. And how were Iron Maiden in any way threatening anybody's children? These old men singing about mostly war nowadays. They don't even sing about demons and things.
It's not even that bad. What? So, what has the principal got to do with this? So, basically, am I to assume, that it's one of the students who's put a picture up on Instagram of her in an Iron Maiden t-shirt?
No, she's put a picture of herself up at an Iron Maiden gig, outside an Iron Maiden gig, with a...
The principal has?
Yeah.
Right.
Because why wouldn't you? If you went to see Iron Maiden...
Yeah.
If we went... We've got pictures on our Instagrams of us.
Oh, gosh.
You've got some really dodgy ones from the last time we went to see Kiss.
Oh, right.
In the petition, the parents claim that the principal's hobbies, i.e. listening to Iron Maiden and going to see Iron Maiden live, could have a negative effect on the impressionable children at the high school. We are deeply disturbed that the principal assigned to the school blatantly showed satanic symbols, i.e. the devil horns, and her allegiance to satanic practices on her public social media platforms.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of the poor drummer in Comeback Clit who's a primary school teacher. And well, gosh, if the parents knew. No, I'm
sending
joking.
a fucking email around. Openly displaying satanic symbols on a public social media platform that directly goes against the principles of the vast majority of families who represent the school is not inclusive, said the petition.
Jesus.
As parents, we're demanding her transfer to another school. So they don't mind other people's kids. This is probably, you know what this is? This is the Canadian version of Windsor.
Yeah.
Because they don't mind her having her job. They just don't want to teach her
Just
kids.
don't come here. Don't bring it here. Oh.
It's horrible, isn't it? But it's mad. It's 2021. For fuck's sake. Isn't there much worse things to worry about?
There's no way they've got the majority of parents to sign this fucking petition. There must be if there was 500 pupils at that school, I bet they've only got about 30 sets of parents signing this thing.
Well,
there's no way they could get a majority.
I think they got a majority.
Oh, well then,
that's the problem.
Then to be honest, someone needs to cover that entire school in poo. Maybe
this is how you should just deal with all fucking
send
stupid
the plane.
people.
You know, when the presidents of important countries apparently have those, the buttons that have all the nukes. I wish I had a button which just send a plane that way and drop some poo on them. Because that
head to St Catherine's in Ontario.
And actually,
those guys need to.
Do you
be
know
shit
what?
On.
Get the principal out because she deserves not to.
Oh, you just wanted at Norfolk then. We've not got to that section yet.
I know, but honestly, get her out. And then send the shit plane over. Done.
Or you could just hold an Iron Maiden concert and then just make sure it doesn't hit the Iron Maiden concert.
That's true.
That's what Iron Maiden... That would be a useful... a good use for Iron Maiden as well, wouldn't it?
It's true.
Just
lure out the reasonable people out.
Well, I don't know. Are they reasonable?
I don't know.
I
don't think...
I'm sure I wouldn't mind some shit getting on some Iron Maiden fans.
Bruce can take a bit on the face.
Bruce could have a lot on the face.
He's got a plane.
He has got a plane. Oh my God, he could be dropping literal Iron Maiden shit on these people. The whole band. They could take off. They could fly over Ontario.
Chuck it out.
Everyone. And they're old men. It would be grotty old man shit.
Oh, of course.
And all their roadies.
And they'd be drinking all of that trooper beer and they're right old poos.
That would be brilliant. There you go.
There you go. Wow.
If any members of Iron Maiden are listening to the Breakfast Punks podcast, you know what to do.
Get drinking that trooper, get pooping in that bucket.
Well, with that
trooper
voice...
and pooper.
Go on.
I'm having too much fun.
Well, I think you've already moved on to Norfolk News by the sounds of your accent, so I think we better go there pretty quick sharp.
Right, well, for this episode of Norfolk News, I'm actually a bit worried that I might have gone to Suffolk.
Oh.
I think
it's all the same to the ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, it's all the same to me sometimes. Depends if a football's on. Not that they have ever given a shit about that.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Well, there's a huge rivalry, but
who's the Suffolk? Is it Ipswich?
Ipswich.
So Ipswich and Norwich football teams.
Oh, they
don't
hate
like
each other. They do, they hate each other. But I'm not about that. I'm all about the love, and Suffolk's as good as Norfolk to me. And I might be wrong. I'm going to Lowestoft for this, And I think that might be on the border. That might be Suffolk. That might be Norfolk. I'm not quite sure.
Just pretend you're standing in Norfolk, but you've got some binoculars, right?
There you go.
And you can see the whole of Lowestoft.
And someone has dropped their issue of the Lowestoft Journal to me, because that's where I'm going for these 2 stories that are Lowestoft related.
You've moved away from the EDL.
I thought EDL? EDP.
EDP.
Quite sure you were. Right, well, this is the headline in the Lowestoft Journal. Headline, may I repeat to you that this is meant to be very important, so catch your imagination with this one. Discovery of personal items in wood, not suspicious, police confirm.
Right.
Because, that's
Did they think it was a bomb?
No, not even that. Just personal items in a wooded area, and they were found, and everyone was very concerned, somewhere near Gunton, and in the North Deans in Lowestoft. And whilst the items were left in unclear circumstances, they don't believe that anyone's been harmed.
Do you know what the items were?
Nope, doesn't even say.
Is that the whole news story?
Yeah, the whole news story is the police were drawn to a beach, found some things that someone had left, and they were very worried. And lots of police, there's a lot of emergency services in this picture, worried about these personal items. So,
are they all standing around looking concerned?
Well, they're very concerned.
Yeah, of course they are,
But don't worry, personal items in woods is not suspicious. So you can all stand down, Lowestoft people who were very worried about what was going on in the North Deans.
I wonder how they came to that conclusion.
Fuck knows. They did their police work, didn't they,
Yeah,
David?
but did they think that the person had run into the sea? Maybe?
I guess the worry is if you'd sat there and you'd had a picnic or you'd left your things out.
People kill themselves at the end of
No,
picnics.
you might have been dragged away or kidnapped.
Gotcha.
I think but it's not
But
clear.
not suspicious.
Well, it's not clear because they don't want to raise people's anxieties.
Well, that sounds like it's more
Lowestoft.
suspicious.
It all sounds very suspicious, to be honest. I just liked that the headline was quite.
Shit.
They felt like they had to report that they found some things in the woods, but don't worry, we don't think it's important. But we better let you know because we've worried you. But another Lowestoft story I've got for you. You want to be unvaccinated? Go to Lowestoft. Rock legends jab at town.
What?
Gene Simmons.
What the fuck?
Gene Simmons has been on ITV's Good Morning Britain last Friday. And he said,
I thought Kiss were on tour. They're doing their last ever tour in America.
He is. He's in Las Vegas, but he went on the on the
Skype
internet
Sorry.
camera.
Yeah.
And he's basically a bit fed up with us Brits not getting vaccinated. Right. And Gene Simmons is a very opinionated man.
Yeah,
and has to have an opinion on whether the people of Britain have had their vaccines.
Yeah. Very important as well. I'm glad Loose Women got that exclusive.
They weren't Loose Women. It was Good Morning Britain.
I'm sorry.
And he said, when you get up to a red light, you must stop. And that's because it's not about you. It's about the other innocent people going by. Be respectful of other people and get a vaccine.
I couldn't agree more with Gene Simmons. I still don't know why he thinks he should have an opinion on it. Or what the Lowestoft connection is.
And he said, so get over yourself. Look, you want to be unvaccinated? You can go to Lowestoft at the end of the country and stay on the beach by yourself.
Oh, right. How does he know?
Don't threaten the rest of the Brits with your selfishness. But do you know why he knows of Lowestoft? Because I think you do.
Oh.
Do you remember little Chris, who unfortunately killed himself?
Oh, my God.
It was his programme. Do you remember?
Was it Rock Academy
Rock
or something?
School
Rock
or something,
School.
wasn't it? In 2005.
Was that Gene Simmons?
At Kirkley High School. And it was Gene Simmons that found, went to those little kiddies' school and taught them the way of his rock.
Wasn't Lil Chris... it was Lil, wasn't it?
It was Lil, yeah.
He must have been one of the first Lils. There's loads of Lils now. No?
Lil Kim was Lil before he was Lil.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But he was like a male Avril Lavigne from Lowestoft.
He was a bit like that, but I reckon he was about 12.
But...
Well... God rest
was
his
his song? Do you remember his song?
Checking it out. I think it was.
Sorry, what?
I don't know. I think it was called Checking It Out.
Right.
Checking It Out by Lil Chris.
And did he have a strong... You must have watched it. He must have been like a hero.
I must say I didn't actually watch this programme.
What year was Rock School?
2005.
So you would have been just of the age. I bet you watched.
I actually did not watch this programme. I don't remember it. I just remember that Lil Chris ended up being... I don't know, because he put together a band, so no one won, I don't think.
But he was a Norfolk
But then he
celebrity,
went
I
on. He
suppose.
went on to make his own musics, and then yeah, he didn't. You know, he's
Well, tell you what,
he's killed himself.
Gene
so.
Simmons' memory is better than you would think.
For a 72-year-old
Well,
rock
exactly.
star.
This is 15 years ago. He met someone from Lowestoft, and he remembers that that's on the edge of Norfolk.
Well, he would have stayed there for a bit, I should imagine.
He would have.
Yeah. Gosh, I wish I'd known this at the time. If I'd really thought about it,
You
I
could have
could
been
have
in
gone,
rock school.
say, "Oh, all right, Gene Simmons, you want to sign my Lowestoft bus timetable?" I don't know, or whatever else I have to hand at the time.
Oh, that's an entirely standard thing to ask.
Oh, bless. Well, he's saying, you know what? If you ain't getting vaccinated, fuck off to Lowestoft.
Well, I mean,
leave
he's got
everyone
a point.
alone.
I don't disagree with him, but I'm still confused about why Gene Simmons was even on. I still want to say Loose Women this morning.
Good morning, Britain.
Good morning, Britain.
I don't know.
Like, was he a Kiss touring over here? Is he?
Well, I guess they will be coming soon, but
They've been supposed to for ages. They were going to play Download Festival, weren't they?
Well-
Maybe he's just doing the rounds. But what the fuck?
well, on the little screen that I can see of his face and the little blurb below it says entertainment, Kiss icon, secret talent. Gene Simmons has revealed his secret 50-year passion for art.
Oh.
Only because Paul Stanley,
Paul Stanley is a
copycat.
painter.
Yeah, exactly. Just because Paul Stanley's got a few of his arts in the museums nowadays, has he? I don't know. He's
Yeah,
definitely
I think so.
painting. Isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's had like.
I mean, they're all
not displays. What do they call them?
exhibitions.
They've had Paul Stanley exhibitions. They're not terribly good, Paul Stanley's art,
Yeah.
but they're definitely going to be better than Psychopath Gene Simmons' art.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I can't-
Psychopath Jim Simmons. Jim Simmons?
Jim Simmons.
Oh, Jimmy
the
G.
demon. The demon. What? Out of interest, was he done up in full Kiss regalia?
Oh no, he's got.
Oh, that was so
I
much
think
better.
he's got a baseball cap and sunglasses on, and what I would imagine is his hat wig.
Yes, he
'Cause
does
he
have a hat
definitely-
wig. In fact, how you've described him is exactly how I've seen every picture of him when he's not in full costume.
He's got a hat. He's
Yeah.
literally got a wig specifically to put under that baseball cap.
It's a wig. No, it's not a wig downer.
Not quite a wig downer.
It's a wig hat.
A wig hat, a hat wig, a wig hat. I don't know. Gene Simmons, it's not a look. He's got a lovely shirt on, but no, you're not my fave. So you know, you're not my fave member of Kiss. You're not my fave member of Kiss who paints. But you have name dropped Lowestoft, but not in a very pleasant way. So I don't really know how I feel
daytime
about this.
television program in the UK where you should be surely concentrating on the last tour you're ever doing with your massive band.
Well, he's waiting for it to end so he can he's painting all these paintings.
I think they all kept getting COVID, didn't they? Paul
did
Stanley
they?
got COVID, so they had to.
Oh no!
They cancelled, but they've been really careful. And like, I think their policy backstage is like super on it as far as COVID is concerned. Maybe the fans have to wear masks and stuff. I've definitely read something
for
about
that
this.
10 seconds they get to stand by them. They pay like
No, they've
1,000
changed. Yeah, no, so they've changed all of that as well. So Kiss used to, before they went on, they used to
Yeah.
charge people,
$1,000, I reckon it
Yeah.
was, something like that.
and all they got. We saw a video.
We
once
watched a
of them
live
doing
feed
them.
of them doing their meet and greet.
Oh my Christ! And
And
it was so sad because they were literally just being shipped in. Then they got to
Yeah.
stand there. Everyone would pull their face, and they weren't allowed to touch them. There was
No.
all these rules. I mean, fair
Well,
enough.
they
I
couldn't
guess.
really move because they were in all their gear and whatnot.
So it was literally like going standing next to a bunch of elderly men dressed as monsters for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was even $1,000. I think it was more. I think it was like $2,500.
And I think they
or
were
something.
like specifically said, "Don't fucking talk to them."
Yeah,
because
you're
they
not
come on and
allowed
go,
to
"Oh,
talk.
James, you're my favourite." Look at the camera.
Yeah,
It's like-
they had like actual security there to like
Yeah.
ship people out. As soon as the picture was taken, they would appear and
Yeah.
just walk the people away, and then the next one would come on.
Yeah, and they wouldn't even move. Like Paul Stanley and
No.
Gene are still standing in their like.
I was so sad,
Outfits.
but I did read, and I can't remember the details, but I did read that they've had to change that, and I think they're doing it behind a screen or something. Which I
Probably
suppose
still
it's
charging the big bucks.
of course,
Dirty Kiss.
it's probably about as personal as it was before in a way,
Yeah.
but even sadder.
Oh, well, that's Gene Simmons for you. But, Lowestoft name drop. Whoop, whoop.
On that note,
Right.
should we move on from the news?
I'm going to talk like a normal human being now. No,
No,
apparently
you
not.
didn't, did you?
Oh gosh. Right, it's time for a song, and I'll try not to sound too Norfolk this time. This is a song from a band called Slut Magic, and the song is called Help Me. They're a band from Brooklyn, and this song is from the album Trauma Queen, out now via Rock Hands Records. Recently, they covered Britney Spears' Toxic, which is pretty cool, and they're about to release a cover of Dream Lover by 50s. I mean, it's by a couple of people, Bobby Darin
we
or
had a
Dion.
discussion before the podcast about which was the better version of Dream Lover. So Dion did it.
Yeah.
Classic doo-wop Dion.
Classic doo-wop Dion.
And Bobby Darin did it.
Yeah.
Classic doo-wop Bobby
Darin. I
And
mean, some would
think
say there's almost no difference between their versions.
I think there's a lot of difference between the two, and I think that Bobby Darin's version is a lot better.
Well, you're wrong, because Dion is the best.
Well, I love Dion, and we both agree that we love Dion, but I just think that Bobby Darin's version of this song is absolutely perfect. So I would like the listeners at home to listen to both versions.
Bobby Darin.
Get your Spotify going.
And Dion.
Once you finish listening to us,
Yeah,
obviously. Listen to the entirety of this.
Yeah.
and then decide whether you prefer Dion or Bobby Darin, and let us know. Shamsandroses@gmail.com.
But don't come at us with the Mariah Carey song. It's a completely different song. It is very bad. Dave can sing it to you.
No, I can't. It's not the same song in any way.
No, it's
but
not.
Siobhan just thought it was the same
Well,
song.
I worried. I was like, oh no.
But you needed to make that clear.
Well, I think I've been as clear as day. So, anyway, this is Slut Magic with Help Me.
Welcome back to the Breakfast Punks podcast. We're now going to move on to the main subject of our episode, which is the UFO cult Unarius.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would like to be called a cult.
Or a religion.
They definitely don't like to be called a religion.
They consider themselves a science group, I guess.
Well, they're
Scientific.
an institute of science, I believe.
Yes.
But Unarius stands for, in fact, the Universal, Articulate, Interdimensional Understanding of Science. Now, if you haven't seen it written down, you might not realise that isn't entirely Unarius. they've taken a couple of letters from all of those different
And
words
made a nice word.
to make a nice word, because otherwise it would be UAIUS, which just sort of makes
Goes,
so they've done a good thing, I suppose.
Yeah, clever.
These Unarians. So the Unarians were founded in 1954 by a man called Ernest L. Norman and his wife Ruth Norman. They had met rather romantically at a psychic convention, so that sort of points you in the direction that we're going to be going with this thing. Ernest claimed that he had 3 wise men following him around with big books, and he was waiting for the right time to share all of the information that they were sharing with him. And when he met his darling Ruth, he decided that was the time, and so he started writing many books.
Well, because I think the other thing is she's at this psychic convention and gets told a reading that she also will like have all this information to tell everybody. She tells him that, and he's like, "This is it. This is what I've been waiting for. Time to spill the books."
Yes. So like me and you in this podcast, we've encouraged each other to do something silly with ourselves.
They enabled each other to some degree. Jesus.
And that kind of sums up a big part of this. Again, not a religion, not a cult, but a science.
A science.
Sums up a big part of it, because a lot of it is about channeling things. And so in the first instance, Ernest was channeling these 3 wise men.
Yes.
I can't tell you much more about the 3 wise men because we haven't read the 150 books that he wrote over the course of the next 20 years.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there's information about a lot of stuff, but there is going to be some dead ends on this episode. Fundamentally, what they believe in is that there are 33 planets in the solar system with intelligent life on them. Earth is one of those 33, but it is the least developed of them all. And that the other 32, who they describe as Space Brothers...
The Space Brothers!
...are waiting for Earth to be ready to receive their message, general message, which seems to be, if you could put it into one word, a message of love.
Love. Compassion and light.
They're awaiting Earth to be ready to receive their message
and to join them in their worldly goings-ons, because they all communicate, and they're like a galactic federation of sorts, not too dissimilar to the one that your previous woman with the implant on her head talked about.
There's actually a lot of similarities between
similarities.
that. I don't know if you've not listened to previous episodes, then this won't make very much sense, but if you have, you'll know that I've been going on about a galactic federation which is currently meeting with Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson and the other prick, and having meetings about how the universe is going to go forward and how we're all going to find peace and all of this sort of stuff. So Unarius is still going.
Yeah.
So they're based in a place called El Cajon in California, which is just outside of San Diego. They have what appears to be the most amazing building that I'm desperate to go to.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Which is the Unarius Institute of Science.
That's it.
It seems to be in a kind of town. I apologise if anybody's listened to this and you're from this area and I get this completely wrong. I don't know, but everything I'm aware of about this town is that basically it's a really rough bit of San Diego.
Well, it's where people live because they can't, but they don't work there because there's no industry really.
Yeah.
So it's just like a poor.
It's kind of like a suburb,
rundown
but
suburb.
I think a particularly poor suburb with quite a high crime rate.
And very susceptible to religious fanatics.
Well, and also the property is very cheap,
yes.
which I imagine is probably the reason why they settled there. And they settled there in the 70s, and I would say that the Unarius thing is very much like a 70s/80s kind of... well, there's two sides to it. We'll get on to that because it's quite interesting. When it first started out, if you look at any pictures, and they made loads and loads of films. So one of the interesting thing about this Unarius thing is that they produced lots of like public access TV programs and lots of movies and stuff that they would share around. And so apparently in California, and I think in some other states, on like public access late at night, you could be flicking through the channels and you could just stumble upon these fucking lunatics talking about their space brothers and all of this stuff. And they'd make like loads of it is like interviews mostly with Ruth Norman. So, sorry, just to jump around a little bit. In 1971, this guy, Ernest Norman, died. Or he didn't die, he passed on
He went to the next astral plane.
Astral plane.
Because the soul is immortal and you just leave one body and move on to the next.
We've got a lot to deal with in this episode.
So good.
And from that point onwards, his wife, Ruth Norman, took control of it. And she is some sort of like amazing channeler who can channel anybody from history, from what I can make out.
Oh yeah, we'll get
But she's also an incredible eccentric. And one of the reasons that I found out about Unarius was from a book called Kooks, Guide to the Outer Limits of Human Belief, which is an amazing book. It's on Feral House. It's written by someone called Donna Cossi, who used to make a fanzine which was of a similar ilk. And I think a lot of the book is taken from that fanzine. And there's a chapter about this woman, Ruth Norman, who is one of the most incredible people you'll probably ever see.
Yeah, she's quite a spectacle.
And
she was the one that you heard at the beginning with her lovely compassion and light and la la la.
Yeah, she's like a very elderly woman in the most amazing gowns you could possibly imagine. In fact, right now it might be worth Googling Ruth Norman, or you could probably Google her Unarius name, which is Uriel, which stands for Universal, Radiant, Infinite, Eternal Light.
Oh, she's so good. I love her.
She is completely incredible, and we will talk about her a lot more in a little while. But let's get into what these Unarians actually believe in. Again, not a cult, not a religion, but a science.
A science. So, loosely what they believe is that, like Dave said, Earth is one of 33 planets in this solar system that has or was once inhabited by ancient interplanetary civilizations. And we are really far behind in our advancement. We aren't allowed really to be involved with them just yet because we are so caught up with our past traumas of our past lives. Because another crucial belief in the Unarian philosophy is the immortality of the soul, and that all people have been reincarnated many times over millions of years. And so we have lived so many lives in the past and we carry karmic debt throughout. It's a little bit like Buddhism, and like the Tibetan Book of the Death kind of touches on this sort of stuff.
Well, there's loads.
They do take a bit from various religions.
I mean, they take a lot from psychology as well. It is quite interesting because like all that past life stuff and that kind of idea of like psychological karma or psychological trauma, actually, if you use that as a metaphor, could be a school of psychology as well. You know,
and they would very much like you to think that, rather than crazy
they would. I mean,
cult.
for the record, I don't think that. No, but you could read it that way.
Exactly. So they think that people have been reincarnated millions and millions of times, and including people who have lived on other planets. So, for example, people could have been remembering lives where they've been on other planets.
Yeah.
So the way that they've decided that, because the Space Brothers aren't coming to us until we're better, until we're good people, and the way that they do that is via this weird form of past life therapy that we'll get onto a bit in a little while, which they do by reenacting previous lives.
Therapy's pushing it. Although again,
that's what they call it.
It could be a metaphor for some types of slightly out there psychotherapy. Definitely,
exactly.
It definitely rings true with a lot of that kind of like 60s and 70s like. Go into a room and scream into a cushion for 3 hours, and then you'll feel better.
I mean, for example, the way that people kind of deal with that is like if someone had a headache, they'd be like, "Oh, I have this persistent headache because in a past life I was scalped." That's kind of the belief.
Yeah, one of them said he had a bad leg, and it was because when he looked back, he'd been shot 55 times in the leg or something.
It is absolutely wonderful. So another part of this belief is that certain people can channel previous lives or other people who have been like in contact with the Space Brothers, and Uriel is one of these people that is the main channeler, but she can train other people are taught to be able to channel these things, and that's kind of where they write these books from previous people telling them what to do. For example, there's like a Tesla edition where there's about loads, 4 or 5 books that are written by a regular human being saying that they're channeling Nikola Tesla from the past.
Well, I think they were actually that was Ernest Norman. I think that was one of his main.
Well, I think but I think people have decided that they can do it since.
Well, they're channeling him who's channeling
Well,
other people. I think
the problem is, I think it's not extraordinarily clear because
No,
in one
it's
of the
not.
documentaries we watched, there's a woman that's like, "Well, I'm not a Tesla biographer."
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
people who claim that they can be in contact with various people.
Yeah.
And depending on how high up this hierarchy you are, Uriel, for example, can seem to channel everyone. Sometimes she's Isis, and Ernest was Osiris from the Egyptian times.
One of the other really
'cause
lovely
that's
things
just
about
something
this
she
cult
does.
is that all of these different people that she's been, they've got an artist of some sort who draws all of these different people
But with
that
her
she's been.
face?
But well, I don't even know if it's her face because the art is so shit.
Oh,
It's so bad, but it's like, but they've got it all over. So this place in El Cajon where they've got the science, the Institute
Yeah.
of Science, just looks fucking mental.
It does.
I want to go there so much, but part of it is loads of this. It's all in a very similar style, this artwork, and it kind of looks like the front cover of a sort of pulpy sci-fi novel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's got
it's like
that kind of tacky quality about it.
very colourful, like murals.
Yeah.
That kind of like, old art, but like, I don't know, it's just beautiful.
But a big part of their belief, particularly from the channeling thing, is that, which I think is a really, really good actually, is that like just making art of any sort, just doing
Yeah.
creative activity is a really good way of like channeling all of the creative people that you have been in past lives.
Exactly.
And it's a type of therapy.
And they also go as far as to say that there's no such thing as imagination. So
Yes.
when people claim that they can't be creative and they've never been creative, she just, Uriel, but all of them dispute that and say, no, you have the power to be creative because you're just channeling other people. And actually, there's no such thing as imagination. Anything that you've thought is actually a prior life. For example, don't they describe 1984, when George Orwell wrote 1984, they were like, he didn't make that up. He's
Yeah.
remembering a time from the past, from a past life.
But one of the other really interesting things I think that just completely like skewers the world is that by that rationale, everything that it has been made up,
Yeah.
films, TV shows, books, are all based on fact because
Yeah.
imagination doesn't exist. So if you've written something down, that means that it once happened and you experienced it. And so one of the things, and this goes back to this fucking galactic brotherhood shit that I keep going on about on this podcast, is that they bring up Star Trek.
Yes, they
and
do.
Gene Roddenberry was a space brother.
They reckon he
according
was,
to
didn't
Unarius.
they?
Because Star Trek couldn't possibly have been made up because imagination doesn't exist.
Exactly.
So Gene Roddenberry was once Spock or
Yeah.
whatever. He was previous life he was a member of Star Trek.
Yeah.
So that means that everything in Star Trek has to be a fact.
It's just what happened.
So
and
as a
it's
res-
like an ideal, it's how the rest of the space Federation is working without us.
Yeah.
It's like what we're missing out on.
And we talked about this
apparently.
a couple of weeks ago, but there is a really interesting thing about how Gene Roddenberry actually was a really philosophical person.
Yeah.
And he was like imagining a world without racism and
Yeah.
without any sort of borders or barriers.
Yeah.
And as a result, he made a really boring TV show.
But he was hoping that it would incite people to be better.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weirdly what these guys want as well. Like some of their basic principles is actually really pleasant.
Oh, they are all really happy.
They're having the best
They're
time.
they're doing no one any harm whatsoever.
No harm at all.
I'm not sure to sit through some of the films that they've made.
But you've chosen to sit through that
It might have
film.
done me some harm.
Yeah.
But apart from that, they're wonderful and
Yeah.
they're incredibly happy. They're mad as fuck, but they're incredibly happy.
They're having the best time.
One of the big things that happened with Unarius was that Ruth Norman said that the 33 planets, the Space Brothers,
Yeah.
were all going to land on Earth in 2001.
Yeah.
And as a result, she bought a big piece of land in California.
Yeah.
It's got a lovely sign on it that says "Welcome, Space Brothers."
Oh.
They've made, again, in their Institute of Science, they made this wonderful mural on the wall of the way that the 32, because obviously we're one. So,
Yeah.
and actually, it isn't.
Although ours is being
sorry,
built
I take it back.
somewhere.
There is a 33rd ship. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Which is being built as we speak, or might be ready,
Yeah,
as
it might
the
be
woman
ready, who
says.
knows? And this was in the 90s or something.
Yeah.
But they are gonna land in this piece of land that she's bought. But the lovely thing about it is that they're all going to go on top of each
They
other
interlock.
and make a tower.
They all interlock
Yeah.
on top of each other.
And they're just going to make this huge tower of spaceships, one on top of the other.
And it's going to be a university where everyone goes to learn the ways of the Space Federation and better ourselves.
So
It's going to be great.
But
except,
going to be great. But the problem with that is that she said that it was coming in 2001. She didn't have the decency to hang around because she died in 1993.
She would love to have been here.
Yeah, of course.
Although I think she was very clever in picking a year that she knew she wasn't going to be around for.
I think she was in her 90s.
Well, she
when
was
she
forced to,
picked
because she kept saying it'll be soon, it'll be
Yeah.
soon, it'll be when we're ready, when Earth is ready, and everyone was like, "Come on, when?" And so she said 2001, knowing full well she wasn't going to be alive then.
Yeah. But the Unarians, despite the spaceships obviously not coming in 2001,
No.
they managed to use a beautiful bit of cognitive dissonance, and they decided that as a result of the world events in 2001, i.e. 9/11, that the Space Brothers looked down on us and said, "You know what?
They're not ready.
They're actually not ready. Look, they're blowing each other's towers up." So
They didn't come.
they didn't come, and so now they're still expecting them to come.
Yeah.
I do think that many people did leave this Institute of Science after 2001.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting to look at the difference. So there's we watched a documentary which I would really recommend. That's just generally about Unarius, called Children of the Stars. It was made in 2012, and it is quite interesting when you look at when they were at their sort of prime, and they were making all of their movies and they were doing all of these psychodramas and stuff. They were like beautiful young people with this old woman sort of leading them, and there was loads of them, and they were all dressed up in these fabulous outfits, and they were all fucking fabulous, frankly. And then when it comes back and they're all being interviewed in 2012, there's like, I mean, I'm sure there's more, and it was just that these were the people that were interviewed, but there's like 10 of them, and they're all elderly.
And we've watched a few documentaries, and it is the very same 5 people getting interviewed, which makes me wonder how many people are there.
So it's a bit sad in a way, because you see all of this like completely fabulous behaviour going on.
Yeah, and no one's being harmed, like you say.
No, exactly. They're all
Only
just
joy.
they're having the time of their life, and there's loads of them, and they're getting to make these movies, and they're getting to be
and all
on
with the
telly
purpose of just getting better and being amazing, so that the Space Brothers will come.
Yeah. And having this wonder. I mean, I tell you what, if I was going to have a cult leader to lead me, it would be her, unquestionably, because she's fucking great.
Brilliant.
But when you go into 2012, and they're all just these old people who are still kind of joyful, although they're a bit more, I don't know, they're not that joyful actually. But and they're all just sort of hanging on to it, and it all feels very kind of, as much as like the Institute itself still looks fucking great, and I still really want to go there, and they do a parade every year, which we'll talk about in a minute, which again looks pretty fucking brilliant. I don't know, I don't really want to hang around with these elderly people in the way that I wanted to hang around with those beautiful people from the past in loincloths.
Like, I don't really want to do like a past life psychodrama with them, but I definitely want to go and be shown around that place, and I want to join in the conclave of light, and I want to sing their silly songs with their car.
So let's take so first of all, I don't think we've described what a psychodrama exactly is, have we? So let's get into that, because again, I can't really imagine these old people doing these psychodramas very much
I wonder
anymore.
if they happen
and
anymore.
if they do, they'd be really boring.
I think they do like past life therapy sessions where you have to sit there with your eyes closed and think, but it's not like what they used to do.
If you go on their website, which is fucking beautiful,
It's
it
so
looks
good.
like it was made on Windows 90
in 95.
It's wonderful, but that's the only thing they do. They just do a therapy once a week,
Just
I think.
sit
But that might be
down.
COVID, who knows.
Well, they used to live out their past lives through psychodramas, which were unscripted films. So basically, someone would come up and say, look, in a past life, I'm pretty sure that this happened to me, and I was a bad person. Like, I was the leader of a group that killed people. I don't know. So she would say, well, you need to act that out, to work through it and figure out what you would say differently now. And so everyone, just because of this person, will dress up as, say it was that man that got scalped by a Chinese old tribe. They would all dress up as these tribal people from the 1400s, do some weird accents, and act as if this man was having all that happen to him, but maybe replay it in a way where he could redeem something and repay a bit of karmic debt, and then end up a better person. And no one ever knew what was going to happen. Some people had emotional breakthroughs. Other people who had nothing to do with it go, oh gosh, I think I was there. And just
I think that most of the people in these things generally just take on that. I think again, there's a little bit of like confusion there. I don't think it's quite as clear as, I think that they all pretend that they are whoever it is that they are.
They do in the psychodramas,
So I mean, so it almost doesn't. So it's like, like you say, if that one guy who got scalped, if he
Yeah.
had a mate,
Yeah.
one of them's got to be his mate.
Yeah,
But then,
of course.
but then I think there's a lot of like presumption in that respect, where it's just sort of like, well, do you know what? I think I was probably your mate, and then they.
But I
take
think
that.
also they then work through things like, oh, you know, I think I had a past life similar to this, and this has somehow helped me. And somehow everyone seems to, they can't really explain it, but they all feel better
They
for
don't
doing
care.
it.
They're having a lovely
And
time.
they don't give a shit.
They're going out into the fucking
Yeah.
desert and just having the time of their life.
And the thing is, they film these. So
Yeah.
they might not film all of them, but they film
No, they
quite a
film
lot
them
of
all
them.
because
Wow.
in the
It's a
documentary
quite big budget looking thing.
they show the video library.
Oh, yeah,
Do
of
you remember
course,
that
it's
bit?
huge.
The video library is like a massive room,
And they-
just full of videos.
Well, and they have a huge like editing production kind of team. I mean, they all do it themselves, but they've all kind of DIY done it themselves. I mean, it's
Yeah.
very cool. Like
No,
that.
so, I mean, some
it's
of
the
them-
ultimate DIY commune.
Oh, absolutely.
But just having like with a lot more jewels.
And like
basically.
someone, this is where the creativity comes in as well, isn't it? So someone does the music, and
Yeah.
someone does like special effects, and there's loads of. I mean, they're all really dodgy and they're
Yeah.
all low budget, but they do loads of
But it's
art as a result
pretty
of it.
good.
And loads of, yeah, it's fucking great.
I guess there are a lot of people that go, I didn't know I could do this, and she told me to do it, and I did, and
Yeah.
lo and behold, I'm doing it now.
But there is a problem with that, in as much as none of them can act, and
Oh, yeah, you can't watch it.
obviously, if you're trying to you can believe what you want, really. But these people aren't really channeling some alien from the year 4000 BC or something. So as a result of that, they're just rubbish. It's just sort of people going, so hi, how are you?
Well, there's one-
Well, I am
Yeah.
Borhan or whatever, and then they get, and then them going, oh wow, hi, what planet are you from? And then he's forgotten what planet
But
he's
then
from.
there's a
and so-
bit where they go back to being cave people, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Woman need to bring food.
Yeah.
I cannot bring you any food." Like, it's just really
But
fucking
then
weird.
some of them are doing it more than others as
Yeah.
well. So like, some of them are like proper doing like caveman talk.
They're just having
like
a
you would
fucking
see on
good
the telly.
time.
And someone else would just be like, right, how you doing?
Well, should we talk a bit more about some of their followers? Because we watched a couple of documentaries and a lot of people get interviewed. Some at the time, which we'll talk a bit more because Jello Biafra from the Dead Kennedys goes and
Yeah,
sees them.
we'll-
and we'll talk a lot more about that one.
Yeah, we'll get on to
But
that.
they're brilliant in that, and they're from... That's in the height of it happening, like 1992.
Well, that was just before she died
Yeah.
as well. So it was still very much like, they were keen on it.
Yeah. And then there's the people they interview in that 2012 documentary, which I think is where some of my favourite people are.
Yeah, because they're mad.
Because they definitely say some mad old stuff. There's those two women that talk to each other, and they're like bickering old women, but they're like, oh, the reason we argue is because millions of years ago, I was her boss, and I really didn't get on with her when we were on the space fleet.
No,
and
they
they're
were,
talking
they
about
were
it really
like,
normally.
they were super detectives.
That was it!
They weren't. It wasn't a boss. A million years ago, in some faraway planet, they were super detectives, which they describe as these sort of hard-boiled, almost like film noir, kind of like Mel Gibson and Danny Glover or something. And
They,
and
the
one
bit
of
where they
them-
go, what did they used to call us? The elite police. Oh yeah, it was
Yeah,
the
it was
elite
the elite
police,
police.
wasn't it?
but one of them did everything by the book, and the other one was a bit of a renegade.
Yeah.
And so therefore they were always at each other's throats. And so then a million years later, on Earth,
They don't always get
happen
on.
to just be these two frumpy middle-aged women who met each other
In Elko.
in El Cajon. And so then they were arguing all the time, and they were like, why are we arguing all the time? And then they look back and they realise we
We've
were
met before.
fucking super detectives.
But
That's
then
why.
they all do it to the cameraman. They go, I knew I'd met you before.
Yeah.
You were you filmed us when we were the elite police. You were one of the people that had to film us. You don't know it now, but you are going to remember
That's it. It was it was a show like Cops.
Yeah.
But just a million years ago
Years
in
ago on a
space.
different planet.
Oh, that was so
They're
beautiful.
so dead serious. I love it.
I think my absolute favourite man is the guy who said the first time he ever met the Archangel Uriel, he was on a diet. And she offered him some food and he accepted some fruit, but he didn't want any of the sweet stuff. She was trying to give him cake and all sorts of stuff. And then she offered him some custard and he said, no, I can't have any custard because I'm on a diet. I'm trying to lose some weight. And she left it for a while. They ate, they chatted a while more, and then she offered him custard again. And it occurred to me, wow, she's an archangel, and I had some custard. And that's literally what he says.
And then from then on, he's like fully in.
And now,
I love it.
he's one of the like older guys. I think he might be in that later documentary. So there's a short documentary on YouTube which is called "We Are Not Alone," which was made in 2016.
Yeah, he's in both. Yeah,
and he's in that as well. And so, I imagine he's still going.
And he's in one of those original films. He wrote it. The like Roots of Man. It was called.
That's sad as well because he's just such an old person talking about this film, and then it goes back and again he's just sort of like this.
He's like this Lothario of the film.
Like, exactly. So that's kind of sad because there's a few of them. There's quite a lot of these older people when they're talking about like, this time when I found out that I was, one of the space detectives, and we made a film about it, and it shows them and they're sort of like these beautiful women, and then they just show them now, and they're just kind of like, wow.
Oh, but bless, she sat next to a painting at one point because she learnt to paint and she painted a picture of Uriel, and then she's just sat next to it and she's just like, I always get emotional when I think about it because she's channeled some artist to do it.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, yeah, she did.
That's one of the other funny things about this art. So all of this art is really shit, but everybody that's done it has channeled Leonardo da Vinci in order to do it, and it's like, I think I'm not an art expert. But I don't think
he helped you.
Maybe Paul Stanley. Maybe they've accidentally channeled Gene Simmons and his stickmen.
Oh, they're so brilliant, though.
I suppose one of the other important figures in the whole of Unarius, in fact, very important because I think he's in charge now.
Yes,
is this guy who's known as Arterus. And his story is very interesting because he's someone that joined Unarius and then basically decided that he'd done all of this stuff wrong in his life. In past lives. And he kept finding out that he'd done stuff wrong in his past lives. And then after a certain period of time, he realised he was actually the devil. and everybody just accepted this. Tyrannus.
Wasn't it? That's one form.
And
Tyrannus
apparently Lucifer
life.
Has many names
of course.
In different galaxies.
Yeah.
And so he became a figure of like, he played the role of Satan.
Yeah.
Within the context of the cult. No, it's not a cult. Within the whatever the fuck
group.
It is. The group.
They were all wary of him because he wanted to be there and do good, but they couldn't trust him.
Yeah.
Because he knew that he was also Satan.
But Satan. he was a popular vegan treat.
God, you can tell. Too much vegan. Satan.
Yes. But the interesting thing about that was they then played out over the course of, I presume, a number of years. It's never really that clear.
Loads of psychodramas.
But it wasn't even... I feel like this was outside of what they were calling psychodramas.
True.
They kind of... The whole group did this thing whereby he was brought round to the good side.
Yeah.
And he brings up loads of like Star Wars and stuff because of course Star Wars was real because there's no such thing as imagination, so whatever happened. And so I think he might have said that he was Darth Maul in a previous life. Or
no,
something, or
he was. Yeah, he's one of
the Emperor.
Yeah,
he was
the Emperor. Yeah.
So, but they obviously played this thing out over a number of years whereby he kind of came round to the good side.
Yeah.
And there's loads of art of him and there's loads of pictures of him in psychodrama.
It looks like weird Flash Gordon from the
Ming the Merciless.
Yeah,
That's
Ming
exactly
the Merciless. Yeah.
What he looks like. And I imagine, in fairness, Ming the Merciless was real too, wasn't he?
There you go.
So maybe he wasn't.
He probably was.
Maybe he was being Ming the Merciless in that thing. I'm not really sure.
Jesus.
But he's an interesting character because, like I say, he's come round to the good side, and now he leads it. After she died, he became the sort of second in command. And he's interviewed in a few of these things. Yeah. He has a tremendous wig.
Oh, his wig. Oh, bless him. Because he must be old.
Yeah, he must be. I mean, now he must be ancient because I think we saw him interviewed in the 90s and he was old then. But the wig doesn't help.
No, bless him. He definitely looks like a fucking devil. The devil would wear that wig, just saying.
And this guy's evil doing for the Unarians would have been very serious because one of their other beliefs is that people's consciousness actually affects the world around them. So, for example, if you behave badly, then there's going to be an earthquake somewhere. And that fits in with their excuse for why the landing never happened, because 9/11 happened, and therefore we were, that was as a result of that the Space Brothers couldn't come. This was the other way around.
Well, it reminds me of something, and we're going to get on to the Jello Biafra documentary in a bit, but there's a bit where he talks to a woman and says, if these guys are so good and spreading love and compassion, why aren't they interceding on all these world events that we have?
Yeah.
And she says something that I think is actually, it sums them up, but I quite agree with, to be honest, which is, it's not down to someone else to come in and tell us how to do it better. We have to evolve and we have to learn for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so the way that they proclaim their lives is we do better for ourselves. We're working on our past lives to be the best we can be, and we hope that everyone will do this one day. And then eventually they'll come. So we can only do better by being better ourselves rather than telling everyone else what to do. Which I really like.
Oh, no, I think that's
really
lovely. And I think she was brilliant, that woman, actually,
so
as well.
good.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it's another example of, as crazy as these people are, they've actually got a lovely worldview in a lot of ways. There's a lot of similarities between Unarius and Scientology, in a way. And Scientology is an example of people taking ideas like this and being horrible.
Psychopaths.
Basically.
Pure awful.
Whereas I think that this base, and as a result, of course, Scientology is this massive thing. I mean, it says something about humanity, potentially, because they both existed in a similar geographical area.
Yeah.
They both had sort of fairly similar ideas.
Yeah.
I would say that one was fundamentally run by a very recognisable male and one was run by a very recognisable female. And I do sort of wonder whether that's got something to do with, like, human, the way our society is. But yeah, it's almost like Scientology without all of the horrible bits.
Well, it's Scientology, but they're not out to. It's Scientology, but they're not out to make money. Like, Scientology is purely to make money and be horrendous. Whereas this is, we've stayed in one building our entire time. We don't drag people here. We don't have tons of little places with people in suits trying to get you to go in their buildings so you can take some stress test and get stuck there for hours. This is turn up if you want, be in our play, sit down in this room and do our past life psychotherapy if you really want to. But no one's dragging you here.
I suppose they're
not making money out of it, and they have just have a nice time.
I suppose my point is more that it's sad that version of a cult is really unpopular and only potentially has about 20 people going to it now, whereas the version of a cult where it's completely psychopathic and horrible and has disgusting. Millions and millions of followers all around the world.
Yeah.
And both of them are just as ridiculous as each other.
Yeah.
One of them is nice and one of them's horrible, and for some reason way more humans seem to have gone to the horrible one than have gone to the nice one. And I suppose that's the.
I think it's the preying on vulnerable as opposed to letting the vulnerable find you.
Totally, yeah.
Which probably does then stands up for why this isn't a religion or a cult, and this is actually, I don't think it's a science research group like they claim to be. But I don't know. Cult is, I don't know. I don't think I can. I love the term cult. They don't. It's definitely not a religion. Even though,
do you know what the term cult doesn't? It's only the term religion they don't like.
Yeah.
The term cult doesn't really come up in any of this stuff, as far as I'm aware. So I don't know. I mean, I presume no one would want to be called a cult, really.
Yeah.
But just going back to that, what you said, they do loads of like drug and alcohol rehab programs in there.
They do.
And obviously, you could be I'm naturally very sceptical about that sort of thing because it feels like something where you say, oh, if you we'll come and help you get off drugs, but we'll also tell you to follow Unarius for the rest of your life. So, I mean, there is a kind of darker side to that. But in a lot of ways, I feel like that's them doing something quite good for society. Again, in a way that's whereas Scientology also does that sort of thing. But Scientology's drug and alcohol rehab programs cost tens of thousands of dollars.
Exactly.
And also you have to be a member of Scientology.
And Scientology is a collective group that will go when the spaceship turns up. Whereas this group is, the spaceships aren't coming unless all of us are better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like Unarius is saying, we all need to be better. So they don't want it to be expensive. They want it to be accessible to everyone, and they want it to be lovely. Whereas Scientology is like, no, we want it to be select. We want it to be...
Well, also Scientology fundamentally is just there to make one person rich.
Yeah, exactly. But like, if there's any truth to it, it's only going to be a few of us that reach the highest levels, and you have to cost so much money. So they come from completely different aspects. Yeah. So it is a shame that the one that's really nice, that thinks the whole world needs to be nicer so that the Space Brothers come, aren't the one with the millions of followers.
Yeah.
Whereas the one where there ain't a million people getting on that ship when it does turn up for Scientology, just the ones right at the top.
Thomas Cruise and his psychopathic friend.
Yeah. It's sad, really.
I think maybe just a very slight interest, just very quickly, from what we can make out, although nothing's ever said outright in anything that we've seen, I think the Normans, both respectively, were quite well off. And so I think that financially this place does really... They obviously sell their books and they do sell, they sell stuff. You can buy a really cool pin badge
from
their
website. Oh, I can't wait, I'm buying one.
So they obviously do have some degree of capitalism going into their, project or whatever that keeps them floating. But I think that basically they own that building. Yeah. So... that's a huge cost. They're not trying to expand, like you say. They're not Scientology. They're not trying to buy.
And I think the sale of their books is to keep it ticking over. Yeah, because I don't know if these people have jobs or if they just work there, if they're just students there, because they're not workers, they're students of the place. So I don't know whether purely the sale of their books and the sale of stuff is just to keep it open. Because I do wonder, but good on them. I fucking love them. I love them so much.
I know that you don't have to pay to go there or anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's really cool. And again, if the drug and alcohol programs that they're doing are free to a community that, again, from what I know of it, and I don't know very much, but from what I know of it, is a very poor area, and could probably do with some drug and alcohol rehab programs. To be honest with you, if you're in a bad way, finding Unarius would probably be a wonderful thing to happen to you. I mean, I'm not rushing out to kind of join any cults anytime soon, but I feel like they'd make you really happy. Yeah. And you could fuck about, you could wear fabulous outfits. They've got a whole room full of fabulous outfits that you could wear at any time you like. You can pretend to be whoever you want. You can go on a parade, which I think we should now probably talk about. Yeah,
we can mention the parade. So they have this Conclave of Light parade every October, which I think must be related to either when they thought they were coming or I don't know what. But they've been doing it, I think it's 38 years. I think this year was the 38th.
It literally just happened.
It happened about 2 weeks ago, and it's still happening, so that's good to know. Where they all don these beautiful blue dresses. They have some songs that they've written that they sing about the Space Brothers coming.
Those songs have got more boring over the years.
Oh, yeah,
as well. I must say,
they're the same songs.
Now they sound like sort of church hymns.
They do sound like hymns.
But I'm sure before there was like synth soundtracks and all sorts of cool shit.
I don't know. I think this is you've seen the car because they have a beautiful car.
Oh my god! We've not even mentioned the car. The car's amazing.
Well, it's like an old Cadillac style car with Uriel's picture painted on the front and a big spaceship on the top.
Oh, it's so cool.
And it's gorgeous.
It's painted, and I think the number plate is Uriel.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's so cool.
And they drive that around, and they
also hold pictures. Again, this really shit artwork.
Oh yeah,
of the people that they've been in past lives.
Oh yeah,
so they're all like carrying pictures of like aliens that they've been. Well, it's famous people,
and they carry pictures of all the leaders of the other planets. That's who they are.
Oh, sorry. Well, I'm sure they probably all.
I mean, there's various.
This is the thing, but the other thing is like they probably all were once that person in a past life or something.
It's all very confused. They also release 33 white doves from the UFO on the car.
They do
every year to signify, I don't know, just that there's 33 planets
love,
and just
pure
pure love.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else happens at this parade, but we're going next year. So anyone who wants to come to El Cajon, we're going, and I'm not even joking.
So it's the start of October.
Yeah, sometime the start of October. They made a Facebook event for it this year, so I'm pretty chuffed.
And didn't you say 32 people said they were interested or something?
Well, they've got about 2,000 likes, which isn't a huge amount for a
No, that's much more. Sorry, I thought it was way less than that.
Yeah, true. Good on them. So yeah, Conclave of Light next year. I think we should probably finish by talking about the wonderful documentary that Jello Biafra made about them.
So this is the other way that I found out about this Unarian cult, is that in 1992... Jello Biafra made a TV show, or was maybe, I don't know if this was the only episode or what, but
it didn't.
I mean, they made it,
yeah.
And in one episode of this TV show, Jello Biafra was going to talk to the Unarians. He made the whole thing, and then apparently the video cassette that was on got stolen or got lost,
someone's car,
or something. So no one ever found it, and then maybe only about 2 years ago.
It was in 2014. It resurfaced somehow,
and I think it's like the B-roll footage. So I presume there must have been another camera on the go, because it's very strangely like the microphone keeps coming into shot.
That's
and
true.
His face, like sometimes he just looks like he's not really listening, and he's asked his question, and he obviously doesn't think he's on camera and stuff. So it's quite interesting to watch just for that reason as well, really. But this thing has popped up. It's like an hour long, and it's one of the greatest pieces of video I think I've ever seen.
It's perfection. I mean, it's on YouTube.
It is.
So along with a lot of other footage that we can compile, we'll pop that on there. So please make sure you go watch it, because it's so brilliant.
It really is. Like, I can't tell you. And I mean, so I love Jello Biafra. I think you love Jello Biafra.
Oh, he's at that roast dinner of my dreams. I love him so much.
But he's really proper in his prime. He must be. So it's the early 90s. He must be kind of in his early 40s, I would think. And he's dressed like Ali Baba, pretty much, but with a... And this is not by the Unarians, by the way.
Yeah,
this
he turns up dressed like that, doesn't he?
This is just what he's wearing. He's got a lovely long goatee beard.
Yeah.
And
he does look like something from Aladdin.
Yeah, and he's just wonderful. I think his interview technique is brilliant, because it's like he takes these people so seriously.
Yeah.
But
as do they.
And they obviously take him so seriously. And he meets up with this woman that we mentioned a little bit earlier, who I think is really brilliant, and she's kind of like the guide to Unarius.
Yeah.
And he asks her really tough questions,
Yeah.
and he sort of brings a lot of his kind of like political knowledge
Yeah.
into it. He says, what about, this situation? They're all situations that are obviously going on in like 1992.
Yeah.
And I don't, it's just
She
a
handles it
wonderful- She handles it
perfectly.
perfectly, and the two of them talking together, I don't know whether I'm mad for saying this. I just feel like I could have watched them talk
Well,
together
do you know
for
what?
ages.
The first time I watched it, because I've watched it twice now, I thought she was like, oh gosh, she's just brainwashed. The second time I watched it, I was like, you know what? She's just freaking handling that conversation really well in a
Yeah.
very intelligent way. Some
And
of it
she's
is
quite
just like...
young and like I mean, I'm not sure. It's difficult to say, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean. She's very like confident and knowledgeable, and there's one point where he asks her something and she doesn't know the exact answer, and she asks someone
Yeah.
off camera, and it's like, so you can obviously tell that everything else she said, she obviously knew.
Yeah.
All of this shit she must have like, and
Sorry,
keeping in
the
mind
thing-
this is 200 books or
The
whatever.
thing
it is at
that
this
she's
point.
asking off camera is they have that model city of the perfect city that they're going to build.
Oh, we haven't
because
even
they're
mentioned
gonna
that yet,
they're
have
going to
we?
build these energy towers that take energy from the universe.
Yes.
That's
Built
just
by
out
Nikola
there.
Tesla.
Nikola Tesla
Via somebody else, obviously.
designed this, and it's this big energy tower. And he asks how tall it is, and she's like, "Oh, it's about 500 meters tall." Wait a minute, how tall is it? And she asks the person off camera.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it's 2,000 meters
Yeah.
in the sky, and it's going to take energy from the outer universe and power the entire planet for free.
Yeah, and it's
Again,
and it's
really nice ideas.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, they're all for like environmental stuff, and
Yeah.
it's all it all. Again, I think if you use the whole thing as a metaphor, I think it's genius. It's just they're not
Beautiful.
using it as a metaphor. Is the
Yeah,
problem.
they're just real.
But,
He speaks to Charles Spiegel or the Anta. What's his name?
Oh,
Antares.
he does.
He does
So-
get to speak to the man who was formerly the devil.
He does, and I mean, this is where we see his
wig.
wig, and I'll say that he does not deal with Jello Biafra anywhere near.
I
as
mean,
well
he
as
gets
this one.
very red-faced and angry.
Yeah,
throughout
he's
the entire
obviously
thing.
enraged, but
Yeah.
he is trying to be professional throughout it all.
But
And-
he also doesn't answer things correctly. He does just blindly repeat the same answer and
Yeah.
not really take in what's going on.
yeah, that bit's not so good. But then he
Yeah.
meets with a whole group of them.
Yeah.
And again, the people that he meets with in 1992, they're relatively young-ish. You know,
They're all dressed in the
they're
lovely
all
jewels
dressed up
and
in-
beautiful things.
And the woman that he interviews first, she's wearing some of Uriel's jewellery.
Yeah.
And so she's got like this outfit on that just looks like a sort of Star Trek outfit.
Yeah.
But she's just got these
Massive
massive
chandelier earrings.
that I think are shaped as like
Well, they're big, glittery, like they're just big.
spaceships, aren't they?
No, they're just
Oh,
big,
they're not.
tons of gems falling off it. It's something like Pat Butcher would have worn in EastEnders.
But
And she
like,
does this,
turned up to about 11.
but she's
surely.
so proud of them because these are Uriel's jewellery and I'm wearing them because they're glittery and they reflect light, and what it does is it's shining her light onto you and everyone at home.
Yeah,
And
all
she's
the love.
dangling her earrings so that the audience can see all the light reflecting, and she's sincerely sending you love and light via these earrings.
Yeah.
Which I'm just like, you fucking beautiful
Yeah,
person.
no, absolutely.
Like, and that's why they wear all their beautiful gems and stuff, to just be more positive and beautiful in the world.
And
which,
again,
yeah.
I just feel like that's
Fuck
something we could
yes.
all learn from in that
Exactly.
context.
But yeah, that group.
yeah, this group. I mean, you can tell that some of them have had hard lives.
Yeah.
There's definitely a guy there who's got no front teeth.
Yeah.
And he says at one point that he used to listen to heavy metal. And Jello Biafra, he obviously doesn't know who he's talking to.
Yeah,
So
they have
Jello
no
Biafra
idea.
sort of goes like, "Oh right, okay," like, and he goes, "Oh no, but you know
Like
the really
real
heavy
stuff.
stuff. Like I liked like Black Sabbath." Like that,
Yeah.
and it was really negative. And Jello Biafra's just like, "Oh, I found Black Sabbath to be a really positive
Yeah.
influence on my life," which is quite cool.
It is pure wonderful at that point.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this film really, apart from just you should definitely watch it,
Definitely.
because I just think it's wonderful. And at the end, here's the best bit of that film: the very last shot of Jello Biafra. He's been dressed up in one of the most incredible outfits I've ever seen, which he's obviously got from their thing, and he's got like a big purple space hat on with a bobble on top,
Yes.
and he's just got this it's just beautiful. And he does say at one point, if you guys ever have a garage sale, please
Yeah,
let me know
let me know.
because I want to buy all of this shit. But he does get to talk to Uriel, which I suppose is the most interesting. Well, if you were interested in this cult in any way, that would be the most interesting bit.
Well, because that's what he says throughout. He says, will I get to speak to her? And they keep going, oh no, she's broken her foot. She is 92 years old. She is in bed. And he's really cynical, to a point where actually I get a bit annoyed, because it does turn out that she's alive on second watch. I then get annoyed with him, because he's pushing them all and saying, is this all a bit like Scientology, when they hid that L. Ron Hubbard had died and they didn't release that information for years? And they're all saying, no, she is literally just in bed. She's just broken her foot and she can't really move around. And he's so of that disbelief that he goes, well, couldn't I talk to her on the phone? And they're like, yeah. And so they get her on the phone, and you can just tell he doesn't really know what to do with himself. And she is brilliant. She's obviously dementing.
Yeah.
She sends love through the phone at one point, which I think is her just pressing buttons.
She gets things wrong. It does feel like the sort of conversation that you might have with your very elderly grandmother.
Yeah.
Like, she's obviously not... Yeah, exactly. And I was saying to you, like, the way that she talks on the phone is very much like an old person.
Yeah.
She's like, hello, Uriel here.
But she seems to... But in the footage, she does seem to have spoken like that the whole time.
She does a bit, actually, doesn't she? That's a good point.
But honestly, the bit where she's like, I'm now... It goes beep, and you can see him looking confused, and beep, beep, and he's like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just sending you and everyone watching power and love through the phone.
I think that's the most awkward bit, because then he's like, sorry, so you're sending love through the phone?
What are you doing? You should feel this power all of a sudden.
At the point, well, she's just completely bemused.
Yeah,
I mean, you can just imagine. Imagine being 92 and being questioned by Jello Biafra. Like, particularly back then.
Oh, but it's pure joy.
Yeah, but the phone call is kind of interesting. I mean, she doesn't necessarily say anything of any. It does just turn out that she's literally broken her foot.
But what? Yeah, but he says at the end, what is the one message that you want everyone to know at home, that your one wisdom that you would share? And she's really like emphatic about this and says it straight off the cuff. She's just like, there is no, and I think she's saying this because she knows she's going to die really soon, but she says, there is no such thing as death. You've got to live, like, you've just got to do things, but not worried. Live without care, live without fear, because you're just going to carry on, and you've got to do good, because you've got to keep doing good. You've got to keep repaying your karmic debt, so you've just got to be a good person. And I was like, you're a fucking legend. Also, you do know you're about to die, and you've told all these people that spaceships are coming, and they're not. But legend. I have nothing but joy for this group.
I will say there's one, just to mention this, because I think it would be wrong not to mention it. She does say something that isn't totally clear, but sounds like it's a bit homophobic.
Yeah. She definitely says something about mixed marriages of some kind.
It's kind of one of those. She's sort of saying a bunch of things that she thinks are going wrong in the world. Yeah. And within that, I think she says something about same-sex people or something like that, but it's not totally clear. And then Jello does pick up on it and say something like, "So you don't think same-sex or something?" But then she just keeps talking, and so. I'm not going to make any excuses. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost 100% sure she basically just says something really homophobic.
Yeah.
But, so she's not perfect.
No, she's definitely not
perfect. But she was
perfect.
a 93-year-old woman and 92-year-old woman, and that's no excuse.
Yeah.
She was born in 1900.
1900. It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. But definitely do a deep dive on this. We did, and I must say, like I say, I've watched that thing twice, the Jello Biafra thing. And I must say, on second watch, having learnt a teeny bit more about Unarius, I just absolutely adored it. Children of the Stars is online. You do have to pay for it on Vimeo. Yeah. But we've got it for 30 days. So honestly, if anyone wants our login, we can send it you if you're interested. Because we've rented it for 30 days. So if anyone wants it, let us know. You can watch it.
And then I think most of the other stuff is on YouTube. It's only that isn't. So I'll put it all on our playlist. There's like a 10 or 11 minute documentary, which is the most current one, which we mentioned, which is We Are Not Alone, and that's really cool as well. I really like that as well. It was just a nice sort of summation of the whole thing, and it kind of shows you where they are. I don't know, like, my takeaway from this is just that I really like these people. I think they are crazy, and I think that everything they believe is crazy, but they seem to have a lot of fun. They're definitely not hurting anybody. They've got brilliant outfits. They've made some really beautiful, genuinely beautiful, like, artistic works. And I don't mean the paintings. I mean, like, some of the models and stuff. Like, in that... I do want to go to this Institute of Science.
We are going.
No, all right. I know, but I do want to go there to sort of chuckle at it and be like, oh, these people are really interesting and mad. But I actually genuinely would like to see a lot of the stuff that they've made there.
Yeah.
I mean, they just by making up all of this nonsense, they have created some wonderful things, and they've created some terrible things. The films, but even them, I've got loads of respect for. It's no different to a bad DIY punk band
or a DIY podcast.
Exactly.
Like, I just think sometimes I think, Christ, what are we doing? We're just creating a thing, but. To create a thing that wasn't there before is amazing. And that's all they're doing with their little psychodramas. But the plus side is they're also working through their past karmic debt.
Yeah.
Good for them. They believe they're doing something really good for themselves. And at the same time, they're filming it and creating these weird films. They're having this lovely little centre that seems to be self-running.
Yeah. And I do genuinely believe that what they're doing probably does have some psychological value.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely does. Because just by believing in something positive... Yeah. You know, it's that thing, isn't it? It's like, be careful who you pretend to be because you are who you pretend to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly... They're pretending to be really happy, brightly coloured people that fuck about for fun.
Their entire life's worth is, I'm going to be better and I'm going to encourage everyone else to be better so these lovely space people can come and help us be even better.
Well, that's just brought one last thing to mind, which is that one of the other things they believe is that if you use your mind productively... and you get to a higher level of consciousness, then you can channel that out to other people.
Legends.
Now, of course, that's rubbish, but what a lovely idea. What? If they're all out there, if they're all out in the street and they see a sad person on the street, they're sitting there on their little park bench, busy channeling all the joy that they have to that other person. And, you know...
Hear me out. When you smile at a stranger and they smile back, and they might have been sad.
Well, this is just getting into reality tunnels.
No, but I think it's true.
I mean, no, absolutely.
Put a good thing out there and you get good back, and you change other people for the better.
And
I don't know. I love them.
In that context, again, if they were doing anyone any harm, or, you know, apart from one minor bit of homophobia, this group of people are wonderful.
They're beautiful. Go look them up. I can't stress how good they are. Right, well, from the sunshiny, glittery, bejeweled people of Unarius to the heavy, hardcore, screamy band
people of
Dad.
Liverpool.
So we're going to play a song by a band called Dad. And this song is called Corfu 82, brackets, ready to inflate.
Oh, you said brackets.
I know. I always say the brackets. You've got to say brackets. They're from Liverpool. This song is originally from a split with Better Reality, but recently released on a discography tape, Father's Day, on No Time Records. So this is Dad with Corfu 82, brackets, ready to inflate.
Sweet trash. Avoid fainting. Keep repeating.
I love what I see.
Leave the auditorium. It is only a movie. Only a movie.
This episode's trashy film for review is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch from 1982.
You don't really know much about Halloween. Halloween. The barriers will be down between the real and the unreal. And the dead might be looking in. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago when the hills ran red.
You happen to know anything about this Cochran?
All I can tell you, mister, is
watch out. He's watching you, friend, I guarantee you that. Where are they taking her?
They're taking her to the factory.
I want a mask. Can I have a mask?
Just what I had in mind for you, little buddy. Why, Cocker? Why? Do I need a reason?
Operator, this is an emergency.
I do love a good joke, and this is the best ever. A joke on the children. I'm glad you'll be able to watch it. The world's going to change tonight, Doctor. Happy Halloween. Stop it!
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the night no one comes home.
After the death of her father under very suspicious circumstances, Ellie Grimbridge and Dr. Daniel Chalice decide to investigate the shady activities of Connell Cochran, the owner of the Silver Shamrock Novelties Company. Before long, they discover Cochran's diabolical plot to brainwash the children of America into doing his bidding through a mixture of ancient rituals, technology, and witchcraft. This Halloween, wearing the mask of a skeleton, a witch, or a pumpkin can be deadly. Can Ellie and Daniel thwart the plans of the evil toy maker? Dun dun dun!
That's a really nice description.
It's good, isn't it?
So this is just to say, I'm sure most people know this already, this is Halloween 3. It is from the Halloween series, but...
By Mr. Lovely John Carpenter.
Well, the first one was, yes.
Oh!
So he produced this one. Ah. But Halloween 1 and 2 were the story of Michael Myers, and then if you've watched any Halloween films pretty much beyond that, they're the story of Michael Myers.
It's just this
continued. But at some point in 1982, they decided that once they'd made the first two Halloween films, that from the third one onwards, they were just going to make a standalone film and use the kind of branding, I guess, of Halloween. Every year in October they would release Halloween. They released Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and then 4 would have been a completely different film about something completely different. Yeah. But it bombed. So, so they didn't do that, and from 4 onwards they went back to Michael Myers, and obviously they're still making them now. I mean, the big Halloween film this year is Jamie Lee Curtis is back in. Is it called Halloween Kills, I think?
Oh, really? Because they did one last year as well. Last year
so
before.
They're back, yeah. Just so Michael Myers has now obviously become this sort of horror icon that everybody knows about.
And this film has absolutely nothing to do with it at all.
Not at all.
Just a standalone.
So don't be expecting any... It's not a slasher. It's got nothing to do with it whatsoever.
No.
And... I would
That's
say
we picked it.
I would say for the better. But Siobhan, what did you think of Halloween 3?
I think the internet doth protest that.
Well, fuck the internet, they're wrong.
So I'm just going to run through some of the bits that I thought were pretty good about this film, or notable. Let's say notable, because not all of it's good. Well, I don't know. I'm going to figure out how I feel by the end. The introduction, the opening credits, felt like a Mega Drive game. I was very into that. Yeah. It felt like Road Rash was about to... Road Rash? Yeah, Road Rash. It felt like Road Rash was about to start. I was very chuffed. Again, it's the John Carpenter kind of like eerie, silly music. Although I don't know if he wrote the introduction.
Yeah, he did. So the synth score is very much John Carpenter.
Yeah, all of the synth stuff. But I feel like the beginning is...
No, that's totally
No, it's still synth, isn't it?
That is like proper...
Typical.
John Carpenter music.
Beautiful.
It's even got that drum beat in the background that goes... Du-du.
Yeah.
He uses that a lot.
It's so beautiful. So yeah, you're onto a win with that. And in the opening scene, because it states the dates below throughout some of the scenes, and it says Saturday the 23rd of October, which was literally, we've just had a Saturday the 23rd of October, so a bit of me was
synchronicity.
Oh my gosh, we're about to experience all of the things at the same time. So just to say, if you haven't watched Halloween 3 already, watch out, because on Halloween itself, don't be watching no Shamrock Novelties adverts on TV, because your children will turn into snakes.
Oh, we didn't really make that clear either. We picked this film because it is Halloween.
Oh, yeah, true.
So happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Oh, tiny tidbit. They go to room 13 in A&E at some point when someone gets hurt. And I just thought I would share with people that generally A&Es don't have a room 13.
Bad luck.
For bad luck. I'm not even kidding. They have a 12A and 12B.
I feel like that's a very old school hospital. That is definitely not true of hospitals being built today.
Oh, yeah, true.
And I wonder whether in America they have that same...
Well,
I'm sure they
just
know
changed
13,
the name of the...
Yeah.
I'm just speaking of St George's Hospital in Tooting. Not very exciting for anyone.
Bit of nurse trivia.
There's some nice gore. Not too much, and not very good ones, but the first bit is there's a man that's killed by one of the crazy murderers, and he's killed by, they put his fingers through his eyes and pull the bridge of his nose up.
It's really horrible.
And
They do that to someone else as well.
Yeah, well, it seems to be their, like, MO for how to kill people. It's fucking horrible. But that's pretty much the only good gore bit, I would say.
Yeah.
But within about 5 minutes, Tom Atkins, who plays Dr. Daniel Chalice, is already making out with the daughter of the dead man. Like, he's met her, and then within 5 minutes, they're like, where would you like to sleep? And before you know it, they're making out. And he's definitely...
She's a lot younger.
20 years is her senior. So that's pretty grim. There's a scene where there's a lady who keeps ringing Tom Atkins' character. She's one of the doctors who's doing the autopsy. And I like that she's just, at some point, fiddling through all these ashes. And she goes, I've accidentally been doing an autopsy on a car.
Yeah.
Which means that she can't find the body amongst the ashes. But I do like it.
But that does lead to something.
It does.
Because the reason for that is that the guy that kills the dad, who does the bridge of the nose bit, is actually a robot.
Yeah.
And he blows himself up in the car.
Yes.
And so Tom Atkins, who is a doctor but for some reason more or less becomes a detective, he asks her to sort of do the autopsy. And so the point is that she thinks it's a car, but it's not. It's actually the man who killed himself, except the man's not really a man, he's a robot.
There's a lovely bit where the baddie, I can't think who plays him, but he's this weird Englishman who's apparently Irish.
He's actually Irish.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
well, I don't know. The way that they attack people is via these microchips in these masks, and the energy that goes into these microchips is harnessed from Stonehenge because they've stolen one of the stones from Stonehenge, which I quite like that. That's all a bit weird. And throwback to last episode where we talked about Stonehenge. I thought that was quite cool.
Well, yeah, it is a bit weird.
Synchronicity.
They take a tiny bit of Stonehenge from the rock, and they put it in just some circuitry, some general electric circuitry.
Well, it's of a time where microchips would have been very scary.
Oh, totally. And that man just turns around and goes, when you do that, it's devastating. But I will say it's devastating because it does make loads of snakes come out of someone's head.
Yes.
So
there was a full 5 minutes where you didn't look at the screen.
Yeah, I couldn't look at that bit.
I do love that it ends with... because Tom Atkins' character manages to thwart it by basically there's this advert on TV that when it comes on is going to like set off all of these microchips. So he manages to get most of it turned off. But at the end he's arguing with the last man, and he turns to the camera and screams right at the audience, and that's meant to be quite powerful. But at that point I was like, this is shit, what's going on? And then the film ends. So my apologies for my damning thoughts there, David, because I can see you're upset. What do you think?
Well, let me start at that end. I think that the ending of this film is fucking brilliant. It ends on a cliffhanger. It's not you can definitely pick holes in it, unquestionably, because more or less what he does is he rings up. So if the TV commercial plays and all these kids watch it with the Halloween masks on, then whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Electricity is going to burn them up, or snakes are going to come out their head, or whatever. There's not really a clear.
No, it's not clear.
It's not clear what this is actually going to do. And he just rings up a load of TV stations and tells them to take off the advert because otherwise everyone's going to die. And I imagine this nurse that was made to fart in her last job, she might ring people up sometimes and say everyone's going to die. And you generally wouldn't. I think if you were the executive of a TV studio, you probably wouldn't talk to this man.
No.
But B, it definitely wouldn't work. Anyway, he gets two of the
of the 3 channels.
Yeah. What a better time.
Good times.
He gets 2 of them turned off, and then the third one, and that's where he does that thing where he's screaming, and it ends, and you're not sure whether it was turned off or not.
There you go.
I think that's a brilliant ending.
Yeah, it is quite good. I mean, up until this point, Tom Atkins' face has just annoyed me so much that the last thing I wanted was him to look straight at myself.
How can you be annoyed by Tom Atkins? So Tom
Atkins,
and
I will.
Right, let me start. Tom Atkins is like one of my favourite actors of all time.
Oh, really?
I think he's a wonderful, wonderful human being.
Oh, I'm so sorry, because I was horrible about him.
I think that... So he pops up in lots of different horror movies, but most know him from Night of the Creeps.
Okay.
He's fucking brilliant in that. He plays basically a detective that's just desperate to die. Brilliant.
Oh.
But it's a comedy.
Okay.
Sort of comedy. And he does pop up in like Escape from New York. He's definitely in some other John Carpenter films and stuff. I just think he's brilliant.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, I
Sorry.
will say that the character in this, I mean, I don't know if this says more about me, but you know, having an alcoholic, podgy, middle-aged man with like bad skin and a moustache
Yeah.
as a sex symbol, for some reason that rings true with me. I'm not really sure what it is. And I just think he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant in this film. So I have a bit of a story with this film.
Oh.
When I was 19, I went sort of travelling through America and stayed in all of these dodgy hostels and all of this sort of stuff. And one night I couldn't sleep. And it was, I don't know what time, but it was the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning or something. And so I stuck the telly on, and this film was on TV. And it must have just started, because I definitely didn't see the credits. But so I just started watching this thing because it looked like a horror movie. I don't think at that time I even knew who Tom Atkins was. I didn't realise it was anything. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what it was called. It was one of those really annoying things where on the advert breaks it didn't say what film it was, and I must have fallen asleep before the end credits, I think, or maybe the end credits wouldn't have said what it was either. And so I had no idea what this film was, and so.
And it's not clear it's a Halloween film.
Yeah, no, not at all. No, I would never have guessed.
Because it's the only one that's got nothing to do with Michael Myers.
Never have guessed at all. And that was quite a long time ago.
I just worked out the year in my head.
And so, I mean, on that trip I went up the Twin Towers, let's put it that way. I mean, it was that long ago.
Yeah.
So, for years after that, I desperately wanted to find this film. And this was, it wasn't really, it wasn't, to say it was pre-internet is kind of like a bit over the top. It definitely, there was no like easy way of using the internet to find this out. And why would you ever find out anything about this film that was a complete flop?
Yeah.
When people talk about Halloween films, they never talk about this one. It's just, it's just... And so, at some point, randomly, I must have worked... I don't know how I worked it out. I would guess that probably what happened was I bought a VHS of Halloween 3, just thinking, it's Halloween 3, I'll buy the VHS. And then it turned out to be this thing. But so I have these really clear memories. And I think as well, I was like dropping in and out of sleep while I was watching it. So... in this film, they really overuse it, but there's this really cool jingle and advert, and the advert is so beautiful. It's so like dot matrix, and it's so like 80s looking, and it's just like it's this flashing pumpkin, and then there's these like disembodied kids' heads that are spinning round, and there's
still Halloween,
so
Halloween,
so good.
Halloween,
but I had that fucking thing in my head for like a year after watching it. And I would sometimes, the people that I knew that knew anything about horror movies, I'd be singing this song at them and being like, "Do you know what song, what film this is?" Yeah, and they never did. Oh, and probably if they'd said, "Oh, it's Halloween 3," I'd be like, "No, you fucking idiot! It's not got Michael Myers in it." So as a result of that, anyway,
you're quite fond of this.
I'm very fond of this, and watching it back, I think I'm even more fond of it because, as an aside. Although John Carpenter didn't actually direct this, he was obviously really involved in it, and it looks really similar to a John Carpenter film. And everyone will know this, but John Carpenter is famous for doing, Escape from New York, They Live, The Thing, and those are, I would say, probably my favourite films. And one of the things I like about them most is just the way they look. It's like the cinematography. There's something just so beautiful about them. The soundtrack. For all of these early John Carpenter films, he really went off the rails later on. Yeah. But throughout his 80s movies, pretty much.
Well, I think for anyone who hasn't watched any John Carpenter films but likes Stranger Things, the reason you like Stranger Things is because of the synthy beautifulness of everything they took from John Carpenter. Yeah. And maybe the look, actually, a lot of the look, that kind of dark and eerie kind of particular way that they do things. But definitely their soundtrack is a John Carpenter rip-off. Wish it was.
No, I think you're 100% right. Yeah. But I think that as well, because it actually is the 80s, as opposed to somebody pretending to be the 80s via mostly CGI and all that shit. It's just a totally different experience, and there's something. It's not only the way it looks; it's also the areas that he picks to film things in. Like all of his films, there's just these places that I just feel like I don't know. There's just something I like. I just want to be in them. I want to be in these movies, I think.
Although you don't want any of the things happening to you, because it's usually horribleness.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
But and this film really looks like a John Carpenter film. Yeah. Again, it wasn't actually directed by him, but obviously he's had a hand in that. And so, although it's tacky, and it is tacky, and although the story has immeasurable holes in it, And although there's lots of issues about it that you could pick apart, the thing is it's just beautiful, and I just love it. And I did think I was a bit worried because I mean I've watched it quite a few times, sort of over the years, but it's been a little while, and I was a bit worried that watching it again now I would be like, oh, actually this is rubbish. Yeah. Not at all. Aww. I absolutely loved every second of it. Yeah, it absolutely blew me away, so I'm a bit upset that you didn't like it. There's loads of just really good bits, so I'm just going to go on about like swooning about it and stuff. Sweet. There's this really lovely bit right at the end where they get to Halloween, and so all the days lead up to Halloween. And when it gets to Halloween, and it sort of says, October the 31st at the bottom, it goes around loads of random cities in America, and it shows kids trick-or-treating because they're all wearing these masks which are going to turn into snakes or whatever they're going to do. And there's about 10 of them, I think, and it goes to some of them are like, I know one of them's LA, and like it goes to a few places, but every single one of them, they just pick these shots where it's just these kids with Halloween costumes on, like just walking along, and some of them are just on a street, some of them, like one of them's on a like hill, and like the whole of LA is in the background. But every shot of every town that they go to is just like a work of art. I genuinely think that, and so in the context of like a crappy 80s horror movie, having that mixed in, I don't know, it just something about it just works really well for me. I'm not really sure. I don't think I need to go into the story very much. I just think it's brilliant. I mean, there's definitely loads of holes in it. There's a lot of mumbo jumbo about sort of random Irish customs. I do like the bit where he says that the hills ran red with the blood of children. Yeah, that was quite cool. That was kind of cool. And I really like that guy. I think he's cool. I said this to you at the time. He looks exactly like my dad's brother. Uncle Dick. He looks like Uncle Dick.
Yeah. I know of him now. Oh, gosh.
And so that's weird, because he really looks like him. Well,
it's the old Irish in you.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, exactly. So many customs. Between the Slattery family and the Cullen family, there's so many Irish customs.
We've got loads of it. Gosh.
I do like the fact that whilst this is really bad and so 80s, and obviously this is incredibly not politically correct, but I do really like it that Tom Atkins is like on this adventure where he's getting into, he sees a man die and he sees someone get murdered, and then he goes to this town and all of this horrible stuff is happening. Then he finds about this plot, and he keeps ringing his wife because the whole time, his ex-wife, sorry, because the whole time he's supposed to be picking up his kids, and he's obviously like, he's so busy as a doctor that he's never got time for them and all of this sort of stuff. And I love the fact that every time he's in a really terrible situation where you're just sort of like, oh, is he going to live or is he going to die, he rings his wife to basically tell her, like, don't let the kids wear the Halloween mask or whatever. And you can just hear her on the other end of the thing going, where are you?
Oh,
what are you
doing?
Oh, just like, and he's like continuously going like, no, I've got to tell you something. She's like, you're never here for your kids.
But then in the same scene, he'll be like, right, I'm off to fuck that 20-year-old girl. I'm definitely 50.
Yeah, no, definitely his character is flawed in that context as well.
To such a degree, which I think, unfortunately, like I struggled to shake it at times.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because actually I do agree with you on nearly all your other points.
Yeah. I like the fact that all of the like baddies that turn out to be robots, they're all just filled with yellow gook.
Oh yeah, the gook's cool.
When they get killed, they just make some custard.
They do just spew custard every now and then. It's good. I also think being one of them as an actor must have been really not exactly challenging, because you literally have to like stare dead and press buttons every now and then. It was good.
But even that side of it, like, I really think that's a brilliant way to start a film as well. There's one of the very first scenes is one of these robot characters killing someone or trying to kill someone, and while he's trying to kill him, a car just like slowly rolls back and crushes him in another car, and of course, because you don't know he's a robot or anything, he's strangling this guy, and then this car slowly comes, and the guy just doesn't really react to it and just sort of looks over, and it's really slow and he could get out of the way, but he just doesn't, and then he gets crushed. And you're like, wow, what the fuck? And then like the guy that pours lighter fluid on himself in the car and just sets himself alight. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, because you don't know they're all just robots.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
So yeah, I just love this film. The director, so it wasn't directed by John Carpenter, like I said. The director, Tommy Tommy Lee Wallace. I think he is Tommy.
Tommy Lee Wallace.
Yeah, it is. Although it says Thomas Lee Wallace on
He's
Wikipedia.
definitely says
But the director, Tommy Lee Wallace, he's done loads of like sequels to things by the looks of it. He's done like Fright Night Part 2 and he's done a bunch of stuff. But this motherfucker ruined my childhood.
Oh no.
He directed the original It.
Did he?
Yeah. The like Tim Curry one.
Yeah. Oh, ledge.
So I had no
yeah.
idea about that. I mean, you know, when I was 8 years old, it ruined
fucked you
about
up.
2 years of my life. I couldn't go near a drain.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean, he's not really gone on to very much else, but those two things are like two of probably my favourite horror-related things ever made. Like this and It.
Yeah.
I would say probably two of the best for totally different reasons. I love them both, you know. And he did a Baywatch.
Well, he's awesome. I take it all back.
So I'm just going to stop swooning about Halloween 3 now. It's brilliant. But Siobhan, don't be influenced by anything I've said. What score are you going to give Halloween 3 Season of the Witch?
As much as I didn't say a lot of good things about it, because I think I just wrote down all the ridiculousness, it was a pretty enjoyable film. A very enjoyable film. I think I was very influenced by how much I didn't like Tom Atkins' character, because as much as you say he was a flawed person, I think I just really didn't like those flaws very much. And I appreciate that like 80s horror and 80s trash films were all about this, but he just really did look like an old fuddy-duddy man, and she really does look young, and it just like freaked me out quite a lot.
I'm not sure. I don't know how old he actually was.
So I
He's
looked
probably
this
in
up.
his 40s or something.
Yeah, so
right?
he was 47 and she was 30. I wrote it down.
So I
about
think
30 something.
So she looks young for her age, and he looks
yeah,
like his age, I
exactly.
suppose, but still,
she was 32. He was 47. But
I think he was supposed to be an anti-hero, but they didn't necessarily do that very well in character development wise or in anything wise.
No,
but I think that was the idea. I think he was, you know, he definitely was supposed to be a flawed.
Yeah,
a flawed man who's trying to do right, but also has some issues.
Can't stop.
I mean, he's
having sex with the kids.
And I think, whilst you didn't really see it that much, he was kind of, I think, supposed to be an alcoholic, but he was, you know, he just drank occasionally in the film. No,
which he's blessed with.
No, because he just drank a lot, and like, there's a strange bit where the whole town that this where he goes, where the factory is set, they have a curfew at 6 o'clock.
Oh yeah,
and so that's one of the ways that you know, like, oh, he's gone to a weird place. And the weird thing about it is, they never really explained it, but I think the point is it's like they said it's like a company town, and like everyone works at the factory.
Oh yeah.
And I suppose it was just pushing the point that it was a strange place. But after 6 o'clock, he goes out and he just goes to a liquor store. And I'm just like, if there was Yeah. And the garage too. The garage is open, but there's a curfew, and they all live in the town.
Silly.
What score are you giving it?
I'm going 5 out of 10.
Wow.
Because it wasn't that bad, and I would watch it again.
9.5 out of 10.
You're mental. Good for you.
Without question.
Go, yeah. You've been thinking that a while. Didn't even. So 1 minute. So that's only 0.5 off the best film you've ever seen.
Yeah, because I wasn't expecting it to be that high.
Okay.
But when I was watching it,
it just all came back.
No, not even that. It was just the further it got, I thought this is going to disappoint me at some point, and then the snakes came out of the mask, and I had to look away.
Yeah, and that really does happen for a while.
That's a really long scene. I think I remember that one quite. I think I might have. When I watched this for the first time, I think I might have sort of dropped off and then woken up and the snakes were all coming out. So that wasn't great. But yeah.
9.5. Fair enough.
So, talking about things that are worth a 9.5 out of 10.
Wee.
I'm going to play another one of Dave's old songs. This is by a band called Samuel. They were from Pennsylvania and they were around in the sort of mid-90s. Kind of like a American emo-y, original version of emo band. Probably fit more into kind of like an indie sort of sound, though, I would say. This is one of my favourite songs of its type, if not might even be my favourite song of its type. It's from a split 7-inch with Texas The Reason. I'm sure most people know who Texas The Reason are, and they went on to a lot more fame. But it came out on a UK label called Simba Records, and it's an amazing 7-inch. Both bands have great songs, but I don't think there's any point in me playing a Texas The Reason song. They also have a couple of 7-inches that came out on another really cool label, which is long dead, called Art Monk Construction. They release loads of really cool emo records, and their other 7 inches are brilliant. But this song is really the peach in their crown. That's not even a saying. But
I'll say it. No, I like it. Peach in their crown.
I've said it.
Especially as you hate peaches. Carry on.
So yeah, this is Samuel's peach in their crown, the leaving kind.
that about does it for episode 22 of Breakfast Punks. Thank you for listening to this whole episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, and whatever you're listening to this podcast on, if there's an opportunity to rate us, please do give us a little rating or send us some feedback. We appreciate all feedback always. Best way is direct message us on Instagram, or shamcityroasters@gmail.com is a good email to catch us on. Anything else, Dave?
No.
Cool.
Only just one last song to leave you all with. This last song is by Andy T. It's from his new album Clinging Onto Sanity with a Broken Fingernail, which has just recently come out on Grow Your Own Records. We say this every time we play anything from Grow Your Own Records, but I'm going to say it again. We love them and they're brilliant.
Whoop, whoop.
Everything they release is excellent, and you should definitely support them.
And they're the loveliest people, and they put so much effort into the little packages that things come in. It's just ridiculous.
They do, and this one comes in a lovely package.
Beautiful.
Andy T is a name from the sort of crass era of things, and I think he's been just carrying on throughout that time. He makes music, but he also writes poetry, and this album is a really interesting mixture of songs and spoken word stuff. It's a great album, so definitely check that out. We're going to play a song called Fragile Minds, and I hope you like it. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time. This podcast comes out every other Thursday.
Every other
like
Thursday.
Clockwork. This one's coming out just before Halloween,
Yep.
so you might be listening to it on Halloween.
Ooh.
And if you are, I hope you're having a very spooky time. So happy Halloween, everyone. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. And this is Andy T with Fragile Minds.
Goodbye.
Polluted streams of unconscious thoughts, delivered with the passion of a school report. Heavily sedated in Victorian splendour, a cost generated by a hidden agenda. Muffled screams behind locked doors, shocked to discover the character flaws. Thin arms outstretched for helping hands, have a deep mistrust of their demands. Fragile minds put under section, are locked up for my own protection. A fragile minds kept under section, are drugged up for my own protection. Learn to play the games they proffer, accept the blame, in silence suffer. Cold prison built of deepest fears, that space is home for many long years. Psycho derelict, a burnt out relic, a broke on through and maybe much too young. Perceptive doors on hinges busted, secret cupboard skeleton sprung. Constantly questioning, always learning, and groping for knowledge, asking how and why, just how far is far too much, or what is it really like to fly? Fragile minds put under section, are locked up for someone's protection. And fragile minds get under section, are drugged up for somebody's protection. Me? Squabbling monsters seem to lurk in cobweb corners of the brain, as apt and safely blown away. Are the dead-eyed really that sane? Protected by a solid concrete wall, standing 6 feet deep in places. Some days it's only eggshell thin, seeping poisonous toxic wastage. Designed to keep all the demons in, can there ever be sufficient space? Veneer of normality is worn and cracked behind this broken, battered face. Fragile minds put under section, are locked up for my own protection. Fragile minds kept under section, are drugged up for someone's protection. Fragile minds safely under section, are locked up for my family's protection. Fragile minds forced under section, are drugged up for somebody's protection. Me?
Dream lover, come rescue me.
I don't know.
That's Dream Lover.